This young man is named David Vinica. He is the son of the great demon king, the ruler of the demon realm. But because of his overly brutal nature, he single-handedly wiped out an entire opposing demon family, even though his father only ordered him to find evidence of their rebellion. This resulted in the wrath of countless major families in the demon realm. To quell the situation, he was banished to the human realm, his soul possessing the body of a male student named Minha, who had just been bullied into a week-long coma. In his new identity, Ravis gradually discovers that his previously sealed demonic power reacts to human malice. Just like that, he slowly learns how to use his power in the human realm while following clues to find his way back to the demon realm. That's just a brief summary from the admin. Let's get right into the main story. A faint cry suddenly echoed inside the castle under the quiet dead of night. Ravis emerged, surrounded by lifeless bodies with rolled-back eyes, soaked in blood. From a distance, two strange figures appeared. One was imposing, while the other crouched down, cursing, "You son of a bitch, Bauer." With a battered body and trembling all over, he frowned and roared with resentment. "Do you think you can get away with this massacre?" However, the figure before him showed no fear and replied, "The Hugh family. Did you think I didn't know what you were up to?" That person was none other than Ravis. "This isn't a massacre. It's an execution." He then raised his claws, glaring as he finished. Carried out by Vinica. Immediately after, a blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the castle. The scene shifts to another event, where the arrogance from before is forced to kneel before another powerful figure demanding answers. "Ravis, how dare you do this? You ignorant fool. You don't know your place. I told you to bring back evidence of their treason, not execute them. You, a Vinica, dare to disrupt the order of this demon realm?" He stated with a stern face. "You've gone too far this time." Those reprimanding words came from Gambindica, the demon king. Despite his body being tightly bound, Ravis couldn't help but yell back, "What do you mean, father?" There was evidence everywhere this time. You know that. Those Hugh bastards were beyond saving. It's all because those outdated old geezers are kissing the Hugh family's ass. Even with evidence, we can't punish them. How many of their crimes have been overlooked? Just then, a figure standing nearby darkened his face, glaring at him with an incomprehensible, calculating look. Hearing this, Gambindica's face darkened as he lectured his son. "If you want to execute them, you must follow the proper procedures. Your subjective judgment is not part of the procedure." But those words fell on deaf ears as Ravis showed clear contempt. Procedures? For an execution? Ridiculous. He seemed to go into a frenzy, his eyes shining brightly as he stubbornly exclaimed, "The strong swallow the weak. Isn't that the law of survival in the demon realm?" Those words instantly made his father frown. He was momentarily speechless. Noticing the silence, Ravis pushed further, raising his voice again. "Father, no, great demon king. You can't even swallow the darkness right in front of you. Yet Vinica is still considered the emperor of this demon realm. You know full well that the order of the demon realm is being manipulated by the nobles." On the contrary, Gambindica didn't agree with his opinion at all, sighing slowly. "I didn't expect you to be this short-sighted. Truly ignorant." Ravis's stubbornness didn't stop. As soon as his father finished, he continued, "Vinica can only survive if the Hugh family is eliminated. They've committed all sorts of atrocities to seize the throne. Isn't that why you sent me to investigate? Instead of those cowards hiding behind the Hugh family, turning a blind eye to the hierarchy." Just like before, when those words poured out, his father fell silent once again. After pondering for a long time, Gambindica closed his eyes briefly before speaking with a sarcastic tone. "Talking to you is like pouring water on a duck's back. Your punishment has been decided by the 12 Dark Thrones." That decisive sentence made David stiffen and repeat, "Punishment." Immediately after, his father lost his composure and raised his voice in anger. "David, for violating the laws of the demon realm and massacring the Hugh family, you are banished to the human realm." As soon as the sentence was passed, his eyes widened in shock as he muttered, "The human realm?" Instantly, Ravis became extremely panicked and stammered, "Father, you can't be. Are you serious?" Faced with that shock, Gambindica stood tall and firmly declared, "Ravis, To pay for your sins, your power in the human realm will be sealed. Go there and learn the dignity of a Vinica. As soon as he finished speaking, panicked screams echoed out. No, Father. Even though I killed the Hughes, I didn't destroy their souls. But despite the denial, his father firmly ordered, "What are you waiting for? Execute it." The screaming didn't stop even as countless magic circles were formed around him. Damn it. I won't accept this. Stop it right now. I can't go? I didn't do anything wrong. Weaving through the crowd, a figure was smiling faintly, watching Ravis screaming in agony before his eyes. This made Bambi even more excited, leaning forward to mock him. Have a good trip, disgraced prince. His smile grew increasingly sinister. I will protect this place well. This made him curse through gritted teeth. You bastard. As soon as the words left his mouth, Ravis screamed in agony, as if tearing through space itself. Ravis, sentenced to banishment to the human realm. Laws of the human realm. 1. Live faithfully in the imprisoned body. 2. Do not escape before the designated time. 3. Do not kill humans. Violation will result in the destruction of the soul. The scene shifts to another setting as a young man suddenly sits up with an indescribable look of shock. Miho's mouth remained wide open as he let out heavy, difficult pants. His hands instinctively came up to his face in sheer disbelief. His fingertips curled slightly in a gentle tremble. Then, he suddenly let out a dry cough. Immediately after, Miho put his hands to his head and cursed, "Damn it. I really came to the human realm." He then remembered that guy's smug face before frowning. That bastard Bambi. How dare he sabotage me? When I get back, I'll snap his neck first. Why is this human body so sore all over? Then, Miho slowly lifted his body off the bed. Standing up straight while his eyes constantly observed his current body, his tone couldn't help but be critical. I'm stuck in this weakest of bodies. He suddenly turned his head and cursed inwardly. Those useless Hugh bastards. Even breathing is hard. Isn't there any pure energy around here? The door suddenly creaked open, and a girl peeked her head in. What was that noise? But before she could voice her question, looking at Miho in front of her made her gasp. Her eyes instantly welled up with tears as Minha ran over. You're awake. Without hesitation, she threw herself into his arms and sobbed. Thank goodness. I thought you'd never wake up. However, the sudden contact made him stiffen in thought. Who is this? This body's family. Before he could finish his thought, another figure appeared before his eyes. Miho. She suddenly grabbed his face with both hands and burst into tears. Thank God you're awake. You must be in so much pain. But looking at this situation made Miho frown and rack his brain. What is this situation? What do I do now? They say the human realm is one of the 3 great hells. Am I really going to live here? Before his thoughts could dissipate, another pair of legs slowly walked over. Young Tasik, with his towering figure, asked, You're awake. However, his appearance made Miho's mother worry. Honey, Miho just woke up. On the contrary, the man's gaze remained stern, making him freeze. Without waiting long, he coldly turned away while saying, Hurry up and get ready for school tomorrow. You've been lying around for a week. You'll have to work hard to catch up with your classmates. His departure left her bewildered. She had to follow him and remind him, Honey, Miho is still. Silence. It's good enough that he woke up. But seeing Miho's expressionless face, Minha suddenly turned and asked, Appa, how do you feel? However, his mind recalled the man's face from earlier. What was that? His face immediately lit up with excitement. I kinda like that human. There are humans here who are just like demons. But that expression made her gasp in confusion. Then Miho's eyes lit up, his face darkening with calculation as he thought. I subconsciously liked him. I need to be careful before this body's memories return. The scene shifts to another setting with a clear blue sky, below which is a school building filled with lively whispers. Miho, you're at school. Is this a school? He was brought to school, but his mother couldn't help but worry and instruct him. If you don't feel well in class, call mom, okay? Watching his back gradually walk away, her eyes clearly showed anxiety. On the other hand, Miho was walking and thinking about something else. The last time I went to school in the demon realm was 600 years ago. I didn't expect to have to go to a human school at this age. It really is hell. But then he suddenly froze as he realized. Wait, The human realm is hell, right? The scene shifts to a classroom. Miho walked to his class, but those thoughts kept echoing in his mind. That's right. Humans barely live past 100 years. I just need to live peacefully so my soul doesn't get destroyed. I already bought time by wiping out the Hugh family. I just need to go back and inherit my father's throne before the Bindika royal family is in danger again. But while he was still immersed in his thoughts, two classmates suddenly walked over. If it isn't Miho? Long time no see, huh? Hearing that tone, he turned around with an uninterested look. What now? Seojun leaned in, placing an arm around his shoulder, and added, Did our Miho bring the late fee for his absence? But his body's reaction just now made him freeze in utter panic. My body is automatically cowering. Suddenly, an old memory flooded into Miho's mind. An unfamiliar face appeared, and then the face of that guy mocking him. And below was this very body cowering, trembling uncontrollably in fear. Only then did Miho snap back to reality, his eyes wide open. He looked back, his mind spinning with thoughts. The reason this body was injured was because of these dogs. While he was thinking about it, Seojun behind him suddenly smacked his head and mocked. You idiot! We're friends, what are you so scared of? Are you even more of a coward than before? It's been a while since we met, so greet us properly. Hurry up and pay your friendship membership fee. At this moment, Miho hadn't even reacted, his brain only just processing the thought. Don't tell me I'm getting extorted? At this moment, another image of Cynthia teaching came to mind. Look up here. This is a human. Observe carefully. Those words immediately caused an uproar among the students below. They don't use magic. They must stink. She didn't reprimand them at all, but agreed and exclaimed, That's right. Humans are very vulgar creatures. They will do anything to hide their weaknesses. Furthermore, they are a stupid species that worships both demons and angels. David also spoke up to mock. We should burn all those idiots. Suddenly, Cynthia created a glowing magic circle and firmly echoed, Exactly, David. If you ever meet a human, crush their vulgarity. Back to reality. Remembering those moments made Miho fume inwardly. A lowly human dares to touch me? Meanwhile, Seojun was still calmly scrolling through his phone next to him. An impulsive arm lunged forward and grabbed his hair. Instantly, he slammed his head hard onto the nearby desk. Humans truly are stupid and idiotic. Seojun realized his buddy was screaming, Let go of me right now, and froze in shock. Seeing this, he didn't hesitate to rush over and yell, Are you out of your damn mind, you bastard? But seeing that, Miho's eyes suddenly glowed with a red light, making him gasp in astonishment. My demonic power is reacting. Meanwhile, he still rushed over with his mouth constantly cursing. You dog. Did surviving fry your brain? Do you want to die? As soon as he finished speaking, Seojun swung his arm, preparing to throw a punch. He easily dodged it, but his eyes were still filled with surprise as he thought, Look at that. Human cursing stimulates demonic power? There's a connection between cursing and demonic power. As soon as the thought ended, Miho didn't hesitate to punch him straight in the face. Instantly, Seojun was sent flying far away, his body slamming hard against the wall. This scene also made all the classmates drop their jaws in shock. On the other hand, Miho didn't care at all. He looked at his hand and pondered. Demonic power is supposed to be sealed in the human realm. Even though this body is human, my demonic power still reacts to malice. At this moment, Lim Sion behind him stammered, Miho? Is this the Miho I know? Seojun, having just been hit, refused to yield and raised a chair high, intending to retaliate. You dare hit me? I'll smash your skull in. This made him widen his eyes and scream desperately. Miho behind you. Watch out. He happened to notice and glanced back. Instantly, he swung his leg and kicked him straight in the stomach without any mercy. Seojun, beaten to a pulp, still couldn't believe it and cursed. What the fuck? He looked at Miho in front of him and cursed. You're the weakling. But before Seojun could finish, he interrupted. I heard that when humans want to hide their weaknesses, they become more vulgar. Do you think cursing will make you stronger? As soon as he finished speaking, his leg swung back again. However, instantly, he brought it up and kicked him straight in the chin, snapping his head back. Another image flashed in Miho's mind as he thought. The origin of the curses humans use. is from my mother. And right now, Seo-jun had been beaten down by him, lying flat on his back on the floor. This threw the entire classroom into a panic. Whispers quickly filled the room. Miho took down Seo-jun and the other guy. What is going on? This is crazy. On the contrary, Miho stood silently amidst the noise. Didn't father say I just needed to live peacefully like this and then go back? Suddenly, he turned to the other classmates standing on the other side and spoke up. You guys over there. Does anyone want to curse at me? Let's test it out. The classmates were terrified by Miho's savage expression. Is that really Miho? Oh my god. Even Lim Sion froze, thinking in awe. Is Miho that strong? While the others were gossiping about him, he slowly walked over. His face clearly showed worry as he asked, Miho, are you okay? But he didn't rush to answer. His lips twitched slightly as he looked at Lim Sion's goofy face and thought, he's the one who tried to help me earlier. He's fit to be my minion. With that sinister thought, Miho slowly replied, I'm fine. The scene shifts to the afternoon, as a voice full of praise kept echoing. Seriously, how did you take down both of them? That was so awesome. Miho, you just reincarnated into another world or something, right? But that joke made him freeze. How did he find out? Meanwhile, Lim Sion continued to joke around and interrogate him. A martial arts world? Or a game? On the contrary, Miho didn't answer but seriously pondered. If my minion has realized my true identity. Then a memory suddenly surfaced of two figures walking and talking. Ravis, in the human realm, you must not kill humans. If you do, your soul will truly be wiped out. Why not? Miss Cynthia said we should crush the vulgar humans. Bambi glanced at him and slowly explained. She only said that to set the mood. We must not take human death lightly. We are the gods who manage human death. But Ravis just glared at him and questioned, but aren't humans already busy killing each other? Hearing that, Bambi turned his face away, his voice showing clear acknowledgement. That's why they are stupid. And that's why we exist. He still didn't take his eyes off him, his mouth instinctively letting out a long, bored sigh. The two of them stood from a high vantage point, looking out at the distant scenery as their conversation continued. Remember, killing humans will lead to soul destruction. Why should I remember? I'm a demon god. There's no way I'm going to the human realm. Back to Miho's reality, he looked up at the sky and thought, if I can't kill humans, how am I supposed to silence him? While he was still having a headache, Lim Sion next to him suddenly looked down and muttered, it'd be great if reincarnation was real. I wish I could wake up in another world. Seeing his voice drop, he immediately realized, I can smell extreme suffering from this kid. Lim Sion kept walking with his head down as he continued. I know reincarnation stuff is silly. I know better than anyone how much you endured before you snapped. But, contrary to that depressing vibe, Miho felt satisfied. So he doesn't know. Suddenly, his face brightened as he slowly praised. You were really cool earlier, Miho. But that compliment felt like a knife to the ear as he thought contemptuously. I just got praised by a lowly human. The scene shifts to another setting in a high-rise apartment building. Miho was sitting on the bed, but thoughts kept racing through his head. When I was cursed at by humans, my demonic power definitely activated. Demons imprisoned in human bodies shouldn't be able to use magic. He looked at his hand in confusion. What does this mean? Miho's gaze paused for a long time. Then a smile suddenly crept onto his lips as he thought in awe. Just as I thought. His face immediately flushed red as he fell into a state of narcissism. There are no limits for David Vinica. But his confidence didn't last long before he suddenly winced. Why does it hurt so much? Miho grabbed his left arm, his whole body instinctively trembling. As the light crept into the room, he was still curled up on the bed in agony. This weakest body can't handle my power. Now my whole body aches. His face was now scrunched up in extreme discomfort as he thought. I've only lived as a human for one day, and I'm already suffering this much. Suddenly, Miho's eyes widened in pain before he thought in frustration, how am I supposed to sleep with this pain? Despite saying that, looking back, he was already snoring loudly who knows since when. Time passed continuously, from night to morning and then to afternoon. The location remained at the familiar school. Miho and Lim Sion were walking together after school, and he once again couldn't stop praising him. It's been so long since we had a peaceful day at school. Thank you, Miho. Thanks to you. No one is picking on us anymore. Contrary to that gentleness, he put on a grumpy face and raised his voice. Whatever. I just want to beat them all up. I want to test my power. While they were still walking, a voice calling his name rang out. Miho. Hearing that, the two of them instinctively turned around to look. In front of them was Seojun standing next to a tall young man who was lifting his chin and raising his voice. You're the bastard who hit my little brother, right? I've been protecting you for so long, and this is how you repay me. Those words made Lim Sion beside him sweat nervously. Beyond imagination, Miho suddenly became ecstatic, making him widen his eyes in shock. He's getting excited again. That's right. Seeing this, the guy started to turn around and said, "Follow me." In a hidden corner of the school, a voice rang out again. Seojun, I told you. He patted his head while mocking. Don't get beaten up. You got your ass kicked by this weakling. Hearing that, he stammered. I'm sorry. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned to look at him and asked, Miho, what should I do with you? His face suddenly leaned in close to him as he growled. If I let you go, how is my brother supposed to intimidate the kids at school? Then he pointed a finger at his forehead and added, Did your mommy teach you to hit other people's good kids? However, Miho remained completely calm as he slowly replied, Spot on. That blunt answer made Seojun's brother exclaim in surprise. This punk is straightforward. Suddenly, he raised his hand high, preparing to strike him. You think this is funny? The arm rushed forward so fast that it was only a hair's breadth away from Miho. But before it could even touch him, he caught it effortlessly while thinking in amusement. Curses that drag people's mothers into it are still the best. Then he didn't let him off the hook, squeezing his wrist tightly. The immense pressure made him scream in terror. What the fuck? Miho still didn't answer. He just swung his arm and thought, Oh, my noble mother, you bestowed venom upon the tongues of humans. Instantly, he threw another punch at his face, knocking him backward. Immediately after, countless punches were thrown, aiming straight at him one after another. Violence only affects the physical body, but rotten words can gnaw at the soul itself. These petty creatures desperately call out your name. Seojun, standing behind, started to get agitated and yelled, Boss, you son of a bitch. Even Lim Sion nearby was deeply shocked by Miho. Beaten to a pulp, the guy could only turn to call his lackeys. You guys, what are you standing there for? Get him. He instantly realized their intention and slowly assessed. Ganging up on me, huh? His eyes suddenly widened, his pupils glowing brightly. Even better. Instantly, Miho rushed forward, taking down each of them in the blink of an eye. The more malice there is, the stronger I get. Seeing this, Lim Sion nearby was so terrified that he screamed. The scream echoed almost shrilly throughout the empty school. His arm slowly dropped. Miho looked up and breathed steadily. With the guys he had just beaten to a pulp lying behind him, he spread his arms and exclaimed, So refreshing. A memory once again surfaced in his mind. Uncle bestowed violence upon everyone while Mother created venomous words. Violence is great. Violence is truly the peak. Now I understand why Uncle gave humans this. Thank you, Uncle. Lim Sion nearby slowly walked over and called out softly, Miho. However, from a distance, a bright red light was heading toward Miho. In that small cave was a rat. Its red eyes glowed strangely. And the truth was, those eyes had recorded the entire scene just now. As you can see, the task you assigned has been carried out. The image was projected onto another screen as a voice rang out. My dear nephew, Ravis. A foot crushed the head of the green demon beneath it. In front of him was Baka, smiling gleefully. Looks like he really likes his uncle's gift. Bambi nearby looked at him through the screen and added, A blood demon stone, carved into the eye instead of a regular stone. How long are you going to endure it, Ravis? His expression became significantly more sinister as he looked at Miho through the projector. A dark, demonic laugh echoed from inside a gloomy castle. Inside the castle, two mysterious figures were intently watching the image of Miho. That bastard Ravis. He really wiped out the entire Hugh family. Bambi turned his head, glancing at the man behind him, and calmly said, David always has to get what he wants. Baka sat leisurely on his chair, smirking. Who could possibly restrain that stubborn brat anyway? Even so, throwing him straight into the human realm without hesitation. Gam really shows no mercy. The image of Gam Bindika appeared. Bambi walked over to a cracked stone basin and said gloomily, "To deal with a high-level tyrant, only suppression by force is effective. That is the creed of Gam Bindika, the great demon king." Baka maintained his nonchalant demeanor, picking at his nails as he spoke. The human realm is where the demon realm exiles its worst criminals. David won't adapt easily. He hummed happily, imagining the scene of torturing his nephew until he snapped. That brat. Since when did he grow up enough to start causing trouble like this? Uncle, save me. What did you just say? Bambi suddenly turned around, looking straight at his master lounging on the chair. Is that why you gave him the bloodstone? Then he suddenly spread his arms wide, his cloak fluttering in the wind. Lord Baka, preparations to summon the sinner exiled to the human realm are complete. Hearing this, Baka grinned, revealing a set of stark white teeth. Show it to me, Bambi. Bambi simply raised his hand coldly. A stream of black aura slowly drifted out from his hand. A massive sphere of black aura slowly appeared in front of Bambi. Streams of black aura from all directions also rushed in like a waterfall. Images of horrifying demons appeared along with his words. Once Ravis has descended to the human realm, he will encounter them sooner or later. Baka propped himself up and slowly stood up from his chair. He reached out his hand, and a small stream of black aura was drawn toward it. Then, the massive streams of black aura in the stone basin were rapidly absorbed by Baka. The thick, pitch-black aura gathered into a round ball in his hand. The image of Miho flashed in Baka's mind, making him smirk in amusement as he absorbed the black aura. This is going to be interesting. My nephew, Ravis, you will taste what darkness truly is. A pot of food filled with spicy rice cakes and fish cakes appeared. What the hell just happened, Miho? Even Seojun got taken down so easily. Lim Sion's eyes sparkled with admiration as he looked at the person across from him. That was amazing. I thought I was watching a movie. Miho, who had been conquered by the delicious food to the point of tears, still spoke toughly. So this is hellfire? It's nothing special. Lim Sion looked at him, slightly speechless. But Miho, are you crying? Miho continued to act tough. Idiot, this is just sweat coming from my eyes. Lim Sion gently scolded. I told you we should order the beginner's spice level. Hearing this, he chewed and thought to himself, a demon who runs away from hell doesn't deserve to be called a demon. The phone on the table suddenly vibrated violently, successfully grabbing Lim Sion's attention. On the phone screen, an incoming call was displayed. Caller, Jin Jae. Seeing it, his face turned slightly pale with fear. Miho, with his cheeks stuffed full of food, asked, What's wrong? Why aren't you answering? Lim Sion lowered his head slightly and spoke hurriedly. Miho, I just got an urgent call. He smiled awkwardly, grabbed his bag, stood up, and turned to look at him, who was still sitting there eating. I'll get going first. Enjoy your meal. Lim Sion left under Miho's displeased and dissatisfied gaze. His hands were trembling uncontrollably, terrified by something unknown. He ate while glancing at Lim Sion leaving. It was getting dark. In a quiet, narrow alley, an old warehouse appeared. The door outside was tightly shut, as if it hadn't been used for a long time. A tattoo needle was slowly lowering. Jin Jae was currently trying to tattoo the person lying on the bed, making him scream in agony. Hearing this, she spoke up, Don't move. It'll hurt. Horrifying photos bearing the agonized faces of men were plastered all over the wall. See? Who told you not to pay your debt on time, making me do extra work because of you? Jin Jae looked down at the face of the man beneath her, who looked completely drained of energy, as if admiring a highly satisfactory piece of work. She said happily, All right, all done. The man's eyes rolled back as if he was about to pass out, his entire face filled with indescribable agony. Looks pretty good. You've got nice skin, huh? A call from behind made her glance over. Ms. Jin Jae, we brought him. Lim Sion was brought in, held by the shoulders by a tall man. He looked at Jin Jae and called out tremblingly, Jae. Seeing Lim Sion, she turned around gracefully and smiled. What's wrong? Why are you so late, Sion? Come here and take a good look. The surgical light shone down brightly. Lim Sion's face was squeezed tightly, and he gritted his teeth, trying to resist. Open your eyes wide and look closely. She forced him to look straight at the terrified face of the man below. What do you think this means? The words on the man's forehead appeared very clearly. Thief. It meant petty thief. Jin Jae looked at Lim Sion's terrified face and whispered gently in his ear, "This guy is being punished for not paying his debt." Her voice suddenly became eerie, her face carrying a hint of madness that made Lim Sion tremble uncontrollably. "And what about you, Lim Sion? How is our promise progressing?" He trembled and stammered. "That?" Lim Sion's eyes widened in fear. "Lately, there have been constant errors." A crisp slap rang out. He was slapped by Jin Jae so hard his face turned red, and he collapsed to the floor, holding his cheek. "Do you think this is a joke?" She raised the tattoo needle in her hand to inspect it. At the same time, two burly men walked over and dragged Lim Sion up, making him scream in terror. "Why won't it go through?" Lim Sion struggled painfully, wanting to escape the grasp of the two men. Jin Jae put on a look of bloodthirsty madness, walking over and lifting Lim Sion's arm. "Or should I carve it straight onto the back of your hand so you'll remember?" Hearing this, he cried and resisted even more fiercely, begging desperately. "No, Jae." She slightly opened her mouth and said, "Hey, Lim Sion, listen carefully." She slowly pulled the needle away. "This is the last chance I'm giving you." Then she knelt on one knee, looking straight at Lim Sion in front of her. "Do exactly what I told you." Jin Jae grabbed his hair tightly, leaned in close, and threatened in a low voice, "And make sure everything is ready." "Can I really finish it?" The sky was covered in a quiet darkness, adorned with twinkling stars. Lim Sion was currently sitting alone quietly in front of the computer. His hands were clenched so tightly they were trembling. "But if I don't do this?" Lim Sion slowly grabbed his trembling hand with the other. He bit his lip and thought to himself, "Then Jae will." Lim Sion sat silently in front of the brightly lit computer screen. The scene shifts to the exterior of a high-rise apartment building. Dong Min-ho was currently gritting his teeth, writhing on his bed. "My stomach. Is this what it feels like for someone who can't eat the plant?" Sweat poured down his face. His teeth were clenched so tight they felt like they would shatter. His stomach felt like it was on fire, and his whole body felt like it was about to break apart. "Just a little bit of fighting, and my shoulder already feels dislocated." Dong Min-ho yanked off his shirt and threw it aside. This pathetically weak body. He furiously did push-ups, hoping to alleviate the pain. He told himself, Lavis Venica, absolutely cannot fall because of something like this. Then, Dong Min-ho furiously clenched his teeth and did sit-ups. "I will rebuild this garbage body, no matter the cost." His eyes rolled back, and he roared with determination. "No pain will ever make me submit." The early morning sun illuminated the clouds, creating a spectacular scene. Outside the grounds of a high school. In the hallway, Lim Sion stood quietly, head bowed, looking at something in his hand. In his hand was an incredibly outdated phone. Lim Sion looked at it worriedly, his hand tightening around it. "This app." His eyes were filled with apprehension. "It's too dangerous." An image of Jin Jae's dark face appeared in his mind. "Make sure everything is ready." Lim Sion bowed his head, clutching the phone tightly. He squeezed his eyes shut, gritting his teeth in a difficult predicament. "What should I do?" A hand suddenly landed on Lim Sion's shoulder, startling him so much he yelped. "Hey, Sion." Dong Min-ho cast his cold gaze down at the person below him. "What's wrong with you? You jumped." Lim Sion glanced at him. A thought flashed through his mind. Maybe I should ask Min-ho for help? Dong Min-ho's cold gaze remained fixed on him. Lim Sion clenched his teeth, dismissing the thought. No. He suddenly thought of Jin Jae and the people associated with her. Even Min-ho would be in danger if he got involved with Jin. Lim Sion kept his head down, biting his lip, not noticing Dong Min-ho beside him, looking at him with a puzzled expression. I can't let Min-ho get dragged into this. A long strand of hair suddenly brushed past, startling Dong Min-ho. Wait, this scent. A girl had slipped and was falling headfirst in front of them. I've smelled it somewhere before. Seeing this, Lim Sion shouted, Sony. He hastily ran to the girl's side. What happened? Are you okay? Wake up. Lim Sion quickly turned the girl over. Are you hurt anywhere? Sony's face was pale, and her whole body seemed to have lost consciousness as she laughed maniacally. Seeing this, Lim Sion was immediately frightened and backed away. One of Dong Minho's eyes suddenly turned red. Demonic energy. Why is it inside a human's body? A man rushed over from a distance. Sony, what's going on? The teacher quickly picked Sony up and said worriedly, Wake up. Let me take you to the nurse's office. That hair once again brushed past, startling Dong Minho. On Sony's trembling arm, a jet black mark appeared. That mark. He widened his eyes in shock. The symbol of the Haitul clan. On a human body? Dong Minho's red pupil moved, following the figures that were now far away. I need to confirm this. Night fell once again. At the city's main hospital, a pair of long legs strode through the silent hallway. The sound startled the person sitting on the chair, who looked up. Seeing the person about to open the hospital room door, a nearby female security guard quickly spoke up to stop them. Wait. She looked at the young man in front of her, his face obscured by a hoodie, and asked politely, Are you Sony's friend? She needs to rest, so you can't visit her right now. Hearing this, the young man immediately turned to face her, stunning her. Dong Minho activated his demonic power. One of his eyes turned red. His voice carried an irresistible charm. Fall into oblivion. The security guard's mind was immediately invaded by the demonic power, and she froze. Her eyes rolled back, her pupils slightly red from being mind-controlled. The female guard slowly sat back down in her original spot. She stared blankly ahead, paying no mind as Dong Minho casually opened the door. He gently opened the door in front of him and glanced at the security guard. The amount of demonic power is faint, but it's still usable at this level. But only temporarily. Dong Minho entered the room and closed the door with a click. Sony, sitting on the bed, glanced at him, startled. She spoke unhappily as Dong Minho calmly approached. What? Who are you? He didn't answer her, instead asking coldly. Who are you, really? Sony glared at Dong Minho with extreme annoyance. What? Why did you just barge in here? His hand suddenly grabbed her arm forcefully. Sony screamed in pain. Damn it. You bastard. Dong Minho said nothing, only casting his dark gaze down at her. He gripped her wrist tightly and held it up, revealing the mark on her arm. Why does a mere human like you bear the symbol of the Haitul clan? Sony frowned in annoyance. What the hell are you talking about? Dong Minho lost his patience, his eyes glaring at her with a warning. If you don't want to suffer even worse consequences, then tell me the truth. His red pupil glowed in the darkness. What is your true identity? Sony was so frightened by this scene that she was scared out of her wits. Her eyes widened, and a cold sweat began to pour down her face. That is... Sony trembled as she looked at the demonic figure behind Dong Minho. A demon. Her whole body shook as she looked at the man in front of her and stammered a reply. Dong Minho lost his patience, his eyes widening threateningly. Speak. Sony, now a mess of tears and snot, looked at him and answered. I really don't know anything. Jean Jai's cunning face appeared once more. He told me I had to get this tattoo if I wanted to join their gang. And he said he'd give me diet pills, too. Dong Minho glanced at the girl trembling uncontrollably before him and thought, there's a very faint scent coming from her. His red pupil became incredibly cold and icy. It's definitely the smell I've encountered in the demon world. The torch on the wall had been extinguished at some point. Lavis. Two figures were walking silently through an endless corridor. One of them suddenly spoke up. Where are you going, my lord? Bambi glanced around nervously. That area is forbidden. Lavis turned his head unhappily to look at Bambi, startling him into silence. He looked at him and gave a contemptuous smile. You coward, Bambi. Hearing this, Bambi trembled with anger but couldn't retort, forcing himself to swallow his rage. He suddenly shouted, I'm not scared. I just don't want to be punished. Lavis just said calmly, then go. Bambi looked at the arrogant young man before him and said with difficulty, I don't want to. With your personality, if I leave you alone, you'll definitely cause trouble. He glanced around nervously. How much further do we have to go? The two finally reached a pitch-black entrance. Bambi glanced around and suddenly asked, Lavis, my lord, do you know? Lavis replied nonchalantly, don't know anything. You should have said something first. Bambi put on a mysterious air, glancing around. Being in the dark reminds me of a story. It's about those who possess eyes that surpass the limits of their species. Lavis, who was walking ahead, also slowed his pace and glanced back to listen. From what I know, There are two ways they lose their sight. Banby muttered to himself as he walked behind him. One is that a light too bright blinds them. The other is that they see nothing at all, and their eyes gradually degenerate. In a dark place like this, a signal from the person in front made him fall silent, stunned. Lavis quietly raised his hand, signaling for silence. He pressed himself to the side and peered inside. There's something here. Both of them tilted their heads to look at a flower resting on a hand in the distance. Banby glanced over and asked in a small, trembling voice, "What is that?" Lavis bravely stepped forward. "Let's get closer and see." Meanwhile, Banby remained terrified, pleading, "It's dangerous." A deep purple flower came into view. They both looked at the flowers below. Banby, trembling again, spoke up. "This guy, isn't this Jeremy Hytol?" Lavis looked at the condition of the person on the ground and made a blunt statement. "Look at his state. He's already dead." Jeremy Hytol's entire body was bluish-green. Flowers were now sprouting all over his body. A curious hand reached out to touch a flower. "But what's with this flower?" "Hey, don't touch it." The hand forcefully plucked the flower from Jeremy Hytol's body. Lavis held the flower in front of him and pinched his nose in disgust. "This smell," Banby suddenly said in alarm. "This is..." He looked at the flower in his hand and exclaimed, "A carnivorous flower." Returning to the present, Dong Minho's gaze was still fixed coldly on the person below. "It's just like a carnivorous flower." Sony was now like a mad woman, clasping her hands and crying, begging for mercy. "Please spare me." He silently watched her tremble in fear on the bed. Outside the room's window, a bat hung upside down from a tree, its red eyes staring straight at Dong Minho. It stared intently at him. "Lavis, we meet at last." Its eyes suddenly became incredibly eerie. "I've been looking forward to this moment." The old, abandoned factory complex appeared again. Dong Minho walked silently inside alone. He stood before a door and looked in quietly. "This is Jin Jai's tattoo parlor." Dong Minho stared at the door in front of him. The Hytol symbol and the carnivorous flower. Could it just be a coincidence? An image of an emergency exit sign appeared. A group of people swaggered down the hallway of a dilapidated apartment complex. "Lim Sion, why is Yang Mu so obsessed with that high school kid? He doesn't need the kid. What he wants is the app he made." The blonde leader spoke arrogantly. "So we're high-tech now, huh?" He squeezed the blue candy in his hand. "Blue ribbon. Yang Mu just developed that recently." A guy next to him cursed back in annoyance. "Use less of it, you psycho. Didn't you hear what happened to Duquai yesterday? It's brand new, so the side effects are harsh." The two of them walked and chatted cheerfully. "Who gives a damn, as long as it gets you high? You lunatic." On the blonde guy's neck, a familiar mark appeared. Dong Minho cast a cold glance at the group. "That smell again. And the Hytol symbol." The two guys continued to swagger down the hallway. Dong Minho suddenly appeared, blocking their path. "You guys got these tattoos at Jin's place too?" The blonde guy saw him and approached with a sneer. "Huh? Who the hell is this?" He came up to Dong Minho and teased. "Hey, Jin's friend." The blonde guy reached out to touch his face. "You should know your place." Dong Minho's red pupils suddenly widened. He raised his hand and slapped the guy's hand away, and unexpectedly gave him a hard slap, so powerful that his cronies behind him didn't have time to react. The guy was knocked to the ground before the horrified eyes of his gang. One of his companions immediately shouted in anger, "You brat! Who sent you?" Dong Minho said nothing and just charged at the guy with a clenched fist. He was punched off guard, spitting blood as he fell backward. Another one was about to charge forward. "You crazy bastard!" He rushed towards Dong Minho. "You want to die?" He threw a powerful punch, but it was easily dodged. Then Dong Minho landed a straight punch right in the guy's face. The guy screamed in pain and collapsed. The last one saw this and charged forward with a knife. He held the knife and rushed straight at him. "Take this." Dong Minho nimbly spun around and delivered a powerful spinning kick to the last guy's neck, making him drop the knife. After the fight, he just looked coldly at the people lying on the ground. Dong Minho asked coldly, "Jin Jai?" The blonde guy had managed to get up and said angrily, "Damn it, kill him." The man's face became incredibly twisted and crazed. "I'm going to kill you." Seeing this, Dong Minho's eyes widened in some surprise. What? Did his demonic energy just erupt? He lunged at him like a mad dog. Dong Minho blocked him while thinking. His movements have changed. Did the drug enhance his physical abilities? His red pupil widened as he cursed inwardly. Damn it! The night sky was as quiet and still as usual. Jean Jahi was standing before a person lying on the sofa and said, "The app, still not done?" "I'm sorry." The man next to her also spoke up. "I'm sure this time, it won't be long now." Yang Mu, lying on the couch, put a hand to his forehead and said in annoyance, "I think I heard that last time." Besides, Jean Jahi glanced at the man kneeling and trembling beside her. "We've caught the one who was skimming from the blue ribbon supply." The man was now begging and screaming for mercy. "I was wrong. Please spare me." He looked at Yang Mu and pleaded, "Please give me one more chance. I won't mess up again." He didn't answer, only glancing at the blue roses on the table. Then he reached out and took the entire bouquet out of the vase. The bouquet was lifted very gently. The man was now trembling and crying on the floor. He looked up and begged, "Please, please, spare me." Then he shook his head frantically in resistance when he saw what was in front of him. "No, don't." Yang Mu held the bouquet and forcefully raised it high in front of the man. Then he ruthlessly plunged the bouquet down. A stream of red blood spurted out. 2 roses were aimed straight at the man's eyes and plunged in. Jean Jahi, on the side, was too scared to speak. The man was still trembling and begging, "Help, help me." Yang Mu raised the remaining roses high again. A bloody scene immediately unfolded. The man's screams echoed throughout the room. The man immediately collapsed to the ground. Yang Mu looked at his corpse and said coldly, "That's right. There are no second chances here." Then he turned to look at everyone, causing their faces to turn pale. I trust everyone understands that. Even Jean Jahi didn't dare to speak at this moment. Her face was pale. "Right." Yang Mu gave a cold glance and ordered, "Jean Jahi, no more excuses. Bring it here." She replied fearfully, "Yes, I understand." The night sky outside the abandoned building appeared again. Jean Jahi was pacing back and forth anxiously. "Damn it. At this rate, I'm screwed." She gritted her teeth and cursed in frustration. "Lim Xian, answer the phone, you bastard." The phone vibrated incessantly. Lim Xian, sitting nearby, suddenly noticed it. He looked at it nervously, then slowly reached out and picked up the phone. Lim Xian's voice was hesitant. "Hello." The blonde guy, now beaten to a pulp, said Xian. Dong Minho sat on top of the blonde guy and calmly recounted, "I was planning to investigate on my own, but these brats here wouldn't listen." He was shocked to hear that. "Huh? What?" Dong Minho just asked coldly in return. "You know Jean Jahi, right?" Dong Minho spoke nonchalantly on the phone. "You were the one who answered Jean Jahi's phone back then, right?" On the other end, Lim Xian was surprised and asked back, "What? Jean Jahi? How did you?" He stood up, with the thugs lying on the ground behind him, and said casually, "Her name showed up on the screen. Do you know where she lives?" Lim Xian asked angrily, "How do you know Jean Jahi? Don't tell me those people found you." Dong Minho quickly denied it. "No, it's not like that," he explained as he walked. "I was the one who went looking for her. I need to confirm something." He asked worriedly, "You went looking for her yourself? Where are you now?" He replied flatly, "At Jean Jahi's tattoo parlor, but she's not here." Suddenly, something caught his attention. At the top of the stairs was a white cat. It froze when it met Dong Minho's gaze. On the other side, a worried Lim Xian was putting on his jacket to go to him. "Minho, absolutely do not get involved with her. I'm coming to you right now." He asked back in surprise, "Huh?" Dong Minho hung up and glanced at the cat. The white cat was now pretending to play with a golden bell. The cat was trembling all over. He approached it. "Hey you, furball. That's right, I'm talking to you." Then he walked over and lifted it up. Holding it face to face, he asked, "You understand what I'm saying, don't you?" The white cat pretended to meow a few times. He stared at it with wide eyes. "Speak so I can understand you." This scared it into trembling. Then it shouted, "Yes, my lord." Dong Minho crossed his arms and questioned it. "Last time it was a mouse, yesterday a bat, and today a cat." He said angrily, "What in the world are you?" "I am." At this point, she revealed her identity. "I am a supervisor from the demon world, sent to the human world. My mission is to monitor the prisoners without being detected." Suit waved her hands and feet, explaining, "That's why I was observing you secretly, Lord Lavis." She looked at Dong Min-ho and thought, his demonic energy is so weak. Is he really a demon? Suit asked with curiosity. But I don't understand how you were able to detect me, Lord Lavis. He replied flatly. Because you're too conspicuous. Dong Min-ho reminded her. And you were standing on 2 legs. Only then did she remember and exclaim in alarm. Oh, crap. He looked up. There's no point in asking more. His red eye looked toward Suit. Master of this creature, reveal yourself. Immediately, her eyes flew open. On the other side, Banbi was sitting at his desk. He chuckled to himself. Faster than I thought. He sneered. Lavis, you figured it out quickly, huh? He said with dissatisfaction. Banbi, this is your doing again, isn't it? You bastard. Banbi continued to tease. Calling your friend a bastard? How cold? Dong Min-ho questioned. Banbi, what are you plotting this time? He leaned back lazily in his chair. Plotting? Me? I haven't done anything. He sighed. Forget it. I need to ask you something. The scene returned to him and Suit talking. Everything is different from what I remember. Aren't prisoners usually able to use demonic power in the human world? She thought for a moment. Demonic power? Well, every rule has its exceptions. Banbi answered vaguely. You'll figure it out on your own soon enough. Anything else you want to ask? Dong Min-ho added. The carnivorous flower. That scent is very strong in this world. He asked. Banbi, you've smelled it before, so you must know. It's a forbidden flower even in the demon world, yet I can sense it here. He propped his chin on his hand, thinking. The demon world's administrators already know that the High-Tool clan's influence has reached the human world. They're a persistent bunch, so you can't say they've been completely wiped out. Dong Min-ho looked up and added. So it really is the High-Tool clan? You mean their remnants are in the human world? Banbi gently brushed his hair back. Lavis. He explained. The human world isn't what it used to be. It's a playground for all sorts of schemes. Banbi clasped his hands together. This makes things even more convenient. Since you're already there, why not just wipe them out while you're at it? He was extremely surprised. What? Wipe them all out? What the hell are you talking about? Through Suit, Dong Min-ho continued to ask. Hey, Banbi, tell me clearly what else is going on. Suddenly, the cat started meowing again. He stared at the cat with annoyance, then cursed under his breath. Damn it, night fell. In a corner of the city, Jean Jahi was angrily staring at her phone. He's not picking up. There's not much time left. She shouted in anger. That damn Lim Sion. Has he lost his mind? He's not even answering his phone. Jean Jahi tapped her phone repeatedly. This is so frustrating. She cursed Lim Sion under her breath. You're dead meat. Then she called someone else. Mobi phone. Jean Jahi. At that moment, Song Jun, who was outside a PC bang, received the call. Jean Jahi. What's up? On the other end, she said loudly. Song Jun, get to the office now. On this side, Jean Jahi clenched her fist in anger. We're going to catch that bastard Lim Sion. The sky today was very cloudy. Dong Min-ho asked. You, since you're a supervisor, you must know a lot about the human world, right? Suit was sweating. I guess so. Since I have to rotate between monitoring prisoners, I'm regularly updated with basic information. And my tracking ability is pretty good. Dong Min-ho said. You. Return to your original form. She was surprised and asked back. Yes? Wait, what? He immediately changed his expression to a threatening one and looked at Suit. Want me to help? She immediately refused. No, my lord. Then she clasped her hands together, emitting a pink light that was incredibly bright to him. Suit transformed into a beautiful young boy with sea blue hair. Her feet slowly touched the ground as she walked towards him. You look really weak. Dong Min-ho looked at her and thought, but Banbi must have a reason for sending you. He asked, what's your name? She lowered her head sadly. I don't have a name. His face was emotionless. Suit, that's your name. Because I picked you up off the street. Never forget where you came from. Her eyes widened in delight. Suit, my name. She approached him and said happily, I understand, Lord Lavis. Thank you so much for giving me a name. He asked further. Now, tell me everything you know about the human world. Suit obediently replied, Yes, my lord. Outside the city, Lim Sion ran through the streets, drenched in sweat. Minho is in danger. I should have refused from the very beginning. He remembered holding a bouquet of flowers and a trophy. He thought to himself, I can't believe I won. Suddenly, someone called his name. Lim Sion. It was Jean Jahi, standing in the middle of a group of thugs. Well, if it isn't the prize-winning developer. Right, she added. I heard the prize money was only 50 million. Jean Jahi smiled, her eyes crinkling. Talent is a valuable asset. Get him in the car. Hey, Lim Sion's face was filled with alarm. His scream echoed as the bouquet of flowers fell. Lim Sion was captured and thrown into a car, with a few people guarding outside. Yang Mu, sitting in the back, spoke up. What are you trembling for? This is just a business transaction. Look beside you. Next to him was a suitcase full of money. 50 million won in cash. Hand over the app you made to us. Despite his fear, he still refused. I didn't make it to sell. Yang Mu looked out the car window without saying anything. After a moment, he spoke. That's just what you think. Lim Sion trembled, sweat pouring down his face. Returning to the present, he was running as fast as he could down the street, thinking, I have to get there fast. I can't let him meet Jean Jahi. Suddenly, he bumped into someone. Lim Sion said in alarm, I'm sorry. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Song Jun had his hands in his pockets. Look at this. A delicious meal delivered right to our doorstep. Lim Sion stood beside him, terrified. Jean Jahi spoke from behind. Lim Sion. She looked at him with a strange gaze. You're done for this time, kid. He was terrified. No. Lim Sion's terrified scream echoed loudly in the dark night. Jean Jahi stood above, looking down and ordering. From now on, your only job is to manage this app. If you don't want to be locked up for the rest of your life, you'd better do it properly. Lim Sion shot up in alarm. Wait. Hold on. Although he wanted to beg, she ignored him and left. We'll be watching your every move from the outside, so don't try any stupid tricks. Lim Sion sat on the floor, looking at the closed door. No. He gritted his teeth and squeezed his eyes shut. It's all over. Song Jun stood outside the door with his arms crossed, looking in and asking suspiciously, Is that guy really a programmer? He looks so green. She stood beside him, also a bit skeptical, but still relayed the message. They said we need it if we want to distribute Blue Ribbon. The man asked indifferently. The app he made is called IM? How is that related to distribution? Lim Sion was being hit on the head by the guards for not working. He was on the verge of tears, but didn't dare to cry, only obediently complying. The people outside didn't care and just chatted among themselves. Even the name sounds like trash. The app's interface appeared on the screen, with illustrations of both male and female genders. Yang Mu approached from a distance to check on the situation. Is everything ready? He looked through the transparent glass to observe the inside. What Lim Sion made is the core of the Blue Ribbon project. As long as we have the buyer's data in our hands, we'll be able to manipulate the market as we wish. Their eyes were filled with ambition. He briefly explained the app's capabilities. The real-time location sharing feature in IM will be our main weapon for expanding the business. Song Jun crossed his arms and smiled brightly. Are we finally starting to sell Blue Ribbon, boss? Yang Mu lowered his gaze to his hand. His hand toyed with a blue candy. He replied in a dark voice, That's right. Blue Ribbon. He gave a wicked smile and imagined the future. It's time to show the whole world. After that, the school started to buzz with excitement. Hey, Choi Yuri. Sign up for this and add me as a friend. What is it? The student showed her the app on her screen. You get cash back for accepting friend requests. 30,000 per person. These girls' eyes lit up at the mention of money. Everyone was excited, regardless of the hidden risks. Oh my god, really? Add 3 people and you get 100,000? That's insane. I want to do it too. Me too. Hey, Kim Hyen, come here. Hurry up. Add me too. Some were still hesitant. What is this for anyway? But they were met with anger. Just do it when you're told, you bitch. The 3 of them gathered to watch the fun. There's even a registration event. On the screen were words that attracted the teenage girls. Diet pills. IM registration event. Blue Ribbon. Just register and receive a free Blue Ribbon weight loss product. This is a dietary supplement certified by the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. Blue Ribbon. Even the name is pretty. Oh my god. On the other side, Jean Jahi couldn't believe it. What is this? How did the number of users increase so much in just one day? She looked at her phone and smiled with delight. This is insane. Song Jun saw this and took out his phone to look too. Boss Yongmu is truly amazing. While immersed in joy, Jean Jahi suddenly sat up and asked irritably, "Anyway, have you still not caught the bastard who wrecked my shop?" The people cleaning up the mess reported cautiously. "Actually, I checked the cameras, but—" She pouted, skeptical of their words. "A bat? So, why would there be a bat there?" So they went to the security room. "Look at this." On the screen was a huge bat right on the camera. "Is that thing staring straight at the camera?" Jean Jahi asked in frustration. "What about the other cameras?" The staff member awkwardly showed her the others. Crows, and then mice took turns covering the screen, driving her crazy. "That damn mouse." Jean Jahi frowned and screamed, "What the hell is this?" Suddenly, Song Jun's phone vibrated. He opened it to see a message. He called out to her, "Jean Jahi." She turned her head irritably and asked, "What?" What he said made Jean Jahi freeze, forgetting her earlier frustration. "Let's go. I heard the new shipment of blue ribbon just arrived." Afternoon turned to sunset. Dong Min-ho stared blankly at the ground. He asked her helplessly, "Hey, Suit, what are you doing over there?" She quickly transformed into a person and explained, "Lord Lavis, I've gained a little weight lately." He didn't care and got straight to the point. "What about the investigation I assigned you yesterday?" Suit excitedly reported, "It was by no means easy, but I finally found out." Dong Min-ho looked at her and replied indifferently, "Is that so?" At that time, he had already knocked out a guy who was hoarding blue ribbon. Dong Min-ho bent down to pick them up. He carefully brought one to his nose to smell it. "I knew it. The scent of the carnivorous flower." Then he looked down at the blonde guy whose nose had been smashed in. "So they used this to awaken." Dong Min-ho frowned and thought, "But you can't grow carnivorous flowers without a host. How did they get a flower that was eradicated even in the demon world?" Suit rattled off the information she had investigated. "The candy you asked me to investigate is called blue ribbon. It's spreading in the human world in various forms, like diet pills and supplements." He continued to ask, "What about the ingredients?" She looked at his expression nervously and reported cautiously, "Because blue ribbon is produced in extreme secrecy, it's very difficult to trace the source of the ingredients." Dong Min-ho's face twisted in anger as he looked at her. "What? So you didn't find out anything useful?" Suit was so scared she didn't dare to move. "That's not it," she explained with a whimper. "The finished product is being distributed at a dizzying speed. And because the quantity is so large, if we just follow the traces of dense demonic energy, we'll find the production site." He stepped forward and poked her forehead, questioning, "Then you should have gone there a long time ago, shouldn't you?" Suit didn't dare to argue and just told the truth. "That's because Lord Banby told me to go with Lavis." Hearing that name made him frown in annoyance. "What? Banby? You report everything to him?" She held her forehead, which was red from being poked, and stammered a plea. "I'm sorry, my lord. I'm just a humble creature, forced to obey both of you." Dong Min-ho put his hands in his pockets and asked seriously, "Suit, choose now. Me or Banby? Who is your true master?" She stammered with tears in her eyes. I. At this moment, he was like a demon inviting her to his side. "If you choose me, I will make you more than just a humble creature." Suit imagined herself becoming a noble lady holding a fan, laughing heartily. So she bowed her head and kowtowed to him. "I will secretly offer you my flesh and blood." Dong Min-ho smiled triumphantly. "I, Lavis Venica, will take you as my personal subordinate." She opened her eyes and looked at him as if he were her master. After those words, the image of Banby flew out of Suit's head. He sneered, shooing the thought away. "Get lost, Banby. Now let's go to the place where the blue ribbon is gathered." She immediately replied, "Yes." From sunset until it was completely dark, she led Dong Min-ho to a desolate place with many large cardboard boxes. Suit ran up to a red container and said, "It's here. The place where the demonic energy of blue ribbon is most concentrated." He followed and ordered her, "Open one and let's see." She hesitated because of the chains wrapped around the container. But the lock. Dong Min-ho didn't say much and acted instead. "Move." He threw a punch, and dozens of chains cracked and broke. The lock was broken, and the door opened with it. Suit used her nose to check for anything strange. They both quickly covered their noses and backed away. A foul smell made them want to vomit. Looking at the stacked boxes inside, It was all indescribably gruesome. Suit frowned in disbelief. This, all of it is. Dong Minho was no better. Blue ribbon. The two of them glanced around. Baka's laughter echoed throughout the mountain. He continuously punched Lavis while criticizing him, and all he could do was raise his hands to defend. My cute, arrogant nephew Lavis. You're as pathetic as ever. He was punched until his hands were swollen, unable to fight back. At that time, Lavis was still young, so being arrogant was normal. What a terrifying and vulgar uncle. Baka stepped back and put all his strength into this final blow. If you exist in this world just for being cute, you should die. He widened his eyes and raised his hands to block. As soon as the punch landed, his face turned pale from the sheer force. But even so, Lavis refused to surrender and continued to hold on. Seeing his determination, he gave a satisfied smile. But in the end, he was still punched off the cliff by Baka. His terrified scream echoed loudly. Seeing himself about to fall from a height of 1,000 meters, he cursed loudly. Damn you, uncle. He stood on the cliff, looking down and laughing his head off. Are you going to die like that? Then Baka also jumped down after him. Lavis trembled as he hit the ground, too hurt to speak. But he landed lightly and didn't forget to ask, Are you dead yet, Lavis? He pouted angrily, but then something else caught their attention. Baka saw many flowers growing in the distance. Carnivorous flowers, huh? They're here. Lavis shot up, his eyes wide as he looked at them. From surprise, it gradually turned to fear. When darkness and light were separated, no creature could exist on the opposite side. Other entities were born that could not be absorbed by either side. At some point in time, the ancients looked down together at the strange object. The first flowers bloomed when they converged. They scratched their heads, not knowing why flowers could grow on a human body. Moreover, the corpse looked as if its soul had been completely sucked out. And their purpose for existing, the thing that devoured fallen angels and rotten demons, is to destroy the world. The flower, with its beautiful appearance, was in fact terrifyingly chilling. The uncle and nephew stood before a raging fire. Baka crossed his arms and smiled, while Lavis looked ahead with a serious face. Dong Minho covered his nose and muttered, They should have all been burned back then. Suit, standing beside him, agreed. I think so too, Demon King. But why are there so many? It was impossible to know how many boxes inside contained that flower. He turned to ask her, From the beginning, those flowers grew in the human world. Do you know? Suit was startled, not knowing what was going on. This is a neutral place where both darkness and light mix. The human world doesn't belong to either side and can travel anywhere. He stroked his chin thoughtfully. Based on human history, I know that humanity dealt with them thousands of years ago. But really, Dong Minho's eyes narrowed as he glanced behind him. If they appeared in both worlds at the same time, then someone must have had a hand in it. She frowned and nodded, then turned her head in the direction he was looking. Indeed, someone. A man turned on a flashlight. The light shone on the two of them, making her close her eyes in discomfort. From a distance, a group of people slowly approached. The one holding the flashlight pointed angrily. No wonder I heard voices. How dare you come here? Do you know where this is? Then someone recognized Suit and quickly reported to Jean Jahi. Damn it, Jean Jahi, that bitch. That bitch came to the tattoo shop. She also recognized her and pointed her out to Dong Minho. She's Jean Jahi, Lord Lavis. She frowned and questioned loudly. How dare you destroy my tattoo shop? And how did you find this place? He didn't care about the tattoo shop and only asked about what was in the cardboard boxes. Jean Jahi, are you managing this stuff? She cursed at him rudely. What's this retard talking about? So what if I am? Dong Minho continued to ask. Do you know its original ingredient? Jean Jahi burst out laughing at this question. Original ingredient? Are you trying to steal our business secrets now? He sighed with a look of resignation. Even though it's none of my business, but... His eyes suddenly became serious. Leaving it alone would be a bit of an eyesore. She put her hand in her pocket to take something out, not forgetting to curse. You son of a bitch. You know what happens if you cause trouble in front of Yongmu again, don't you? She pulled out a handful of blue ribbon and showed it to her subordinates. Here, a special gift. They looked at it with craving. One of them asked in disbelief. This, are you really giving this to us? Jean Jahi sneered and ordered, shut up and eat it. The space fell silent. Only the sound of the four men chewing and swallowing could be heard. Dong Minho ordered her, "Suit, with your current demonic power, you'll just be a burden. Find a place to hide." She quickly found a hiding spot. "Yes, my lord." After eating, the men suddenly became different people. Their eyes were vacant, and their strange smiles looked like they wanted to eat him alive. Jin Jahi didn't need to do anything but point at him and order, "Teach that punk a lesson." They moved as fast as lightning, disappearing from where they stood. On the ground, candy wrappers were scattered everywhere. They charged like madmen, thinking there was strength in numbers. Dong Minho laughed mockingly. "Arrogant fools, drowning in your own delusions." Not only was he not afraid, but he also provoked them loudly. "Come at me." The demonic energy here was incredibly abundant and rich. The brown-haired one charged first, but he dodged and quickly ducked. One punch took him down. The one behind him charged forward, screaming. So he got a kick to the neck that was so painful he foamed at the mouth. The last one took advantage of the obscured view to play dirty. But Dong Minho saw everything. Not only that, but his reflexes were extremely fast. So before the one with the knife could even stab, he had already seen his move. A punch from below sent him to the ground. Suddenly, Dong Minho turned around. The brown-haired one recklessly charged and grabbed him. He gritted his teeth and cursed this bastard. He screamed, even as his nose was punched until it bled. Dong Minho was thrown to the ground. The big guy from behind quickly ran over. He was about to hit him with his giant knee, but he was faster. He brought his hands together in a perfect defense. Suit, hiding behind a cardboard box, peeked out worriedly. "Lord Lavis." Jin Jahi smiled like a winner. The whole group, as if high on drugs, relentlessly threw punches. Dong Minho could only use his bare hands to defend. He gritted his teeth and observed their strength. So strong. Is it because they ate more than last time? If that's the case. His eyes darted to the right. Seeing him rush towards the red container, they also chased after him. Dong Minho punched through the paper bag with his bare hands and pulled out another purple bag from inside. Before being caught, he did a spin and threw the purple bag out. The four who were charging were stopped in their tracks by the dust and smoke. They panted heavily, in pain as if they were about to die. He gritted his teeth and said to himself, "I don't like this low-grade stimulant," but the demonic energy was surging, more intense. Dong Minho himself had inhaled the stuff called blue ribbon. One of them couldn't take it and covered his mouth, about to retch. But before he could do anything, he was grabbed by the face and pushed away. He was in pain as he was pinned to the ground and beaten. Dong Minho was like a demon, furiously throwing punches. One punch, then two, made the brown-haired guy spit blood and pass out. Someone tried to sneak attack him, but he easily dodged. Then he grabbed his leg tightly. Then he did a takedown that his opponent couldn't counter. It wasn't over. He held his leg tight with the intention of stomping on it. The guy's foot was as good as useless. He screamed in pain, but it was futile. The big guy, unafraid, still charged in. "Die!" But with just one hand, Dong Minho easily punched his face out of shape. The guy fell to the ground. He quickly got behind him and lifted him up. His eyes lost focus, and he could only charge and attack. Such a small body managed to wrestle the big guy and pin him to the ground. Jin Jahi backed away in fear. What the hell is happening? How can he take on all of them? After finishing off the four, Dong Minho began to look up. She was so scared she looked like she had seen a ghost, her face pale. His eyes were now like a monster's, wanting to eat her alive. Jin Jahi was so scared she shivered. He's a monster. How can he? His blood-red eye was staring at her. At another performance. On stage was a young girl in a ballet outfit. The audience below was packed with people watching. Kang Yunju took deep breaths to calm herself. From inside the room, her mother's voice could be heard. "That's right, Iria. She's my daughter, Kang Yunju." She looked up at the screen showing her daughter's performance, chattering on and on about her talent. "My daughter could easily join the US ballet company with that level of skill." Yangmu opened the door and walked in brazenly without permission. "There you are, our VIP client." She asked angrily, "Who are you people? How dare you lowlifes come in here? Do you know where you are?" He laughed contemptuously in reply. "Lowlifes? Excuse me. We received a huge order for blue ribbon, so we came to deliver it personally." She was startled and looked at the blue vial. "What? Her eyes widened in disbelief. This is... Yangmu calmly sat down. Why do you look so tense? We've taken care of everything from production to sales, so you don't need to worry. She asked hesitantly. It doesn't have any side effects, does it? He glanced at her with contempt. You're only asking now? Yangmu looked up at the screen where Kang Yunju was performing. You already gave your daughter a lot of it before sending her up on that stage. At the same time, her eyes suddenly changed. Her gently dancing feet suddenly started spinning rapidly. Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief. Wait, Iria. Blood vessels popped up all over her eyes, and her mouth started to foam. It was unclear if she was even conscious. Her fingers lifted, but they were very stiff. Yangmu feigned surprise and exclaimed, "Oh my!" The side effects came faster than expected. How many pills did you give her? Kang Yunju was like a puppet being controlled by the drug. Her mother jumped up in alarm and shouted, but her words couldn't reach her daughter's ears. Iria, stop. On stage, Kang Yunju spun beautifully, but also very quickly. And so, she fell to the ground with a thud. The audience gasped and shouted. The crowd was in an uproar, unable to sit still. What's happening? Why did she fall? Security also rushed onto the stage to check on her condition. Her mother covered her mouth, unable to believe her eyes. Tears welled up, full of regret, but it was too late. No. Then she turned and took her anger out on Yangmu. You bastard. You said there were no side effects. He shamelessly shifted the blame back to the victim. That only applies if you use the correct dosage. Anyway, your daughter is done for. Veins popped up all over Kang Yunju's body. Her eyes were wide, and she was convulsing as if about to die. He continued to brainwash her. She'll only live if you satisfy her needs with these pills, right? Yangmu went from being a seller to a person of status in front of her. Now she won't be able to live without blue ribbon for the rest of her life. As one of our VIP clients. She clutched her head and screamed, as if trying to escape the responsibility and consequences of her actions. No. Do you know how much I invested in her? He smirked, enjoying her suffering. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. He took it out and saw that Jin Jahi was calling. Instead of answering right away, Yangmu paused for a few seconds. He looked as if he saw something strange. What the hell? On the screen was a frightened Jin Jahi. I'm sorry, Mr. Yangmu. Dong Minho pushed her head aside and looked straight into the phone, asking, Are you the one who produces blue ribbon? His eyes widened in surprise. You? Seeing his reaction, he guessed it. It's you, isn't it? Come here. Yangmu hung up immediately. His voice was dark as he announced, which sounded more like an order. Dear customer, we have an urgent matter to attend to. That evening, at the site of the fight with the cardboard boxes, Suit curiously looked at the bodies scattered on the ground. Why do humans like to do drugs so much? Dong Min Ho answered bluntly. Because they are ignorant and arrogant. He looked at the blue candy in his hand and sneered. Even if they do drugs, they arrogantly believe they won't get addicted. They don't believe in anything, just conveniently clinging to petty pleasures. Suit jumped up and pointed behind him. Lord Lavis. Over there. Jin Jahi looked overjoyed, as if she had found her savior. Mr. Yangmu. He approached with a few men. The incident at the tattoo shop was your doing too. He asked arrogantly, unafraid. Looking for me? Dong Min Ho indifferently pointed at the box. I'm not interested in someone like you. Where did you get this stuff? Then he narrowed his eyes and looked at him suspiciously. It would be a bit difficult for a normal person. Yangmu froze, not believing his ears. What? A normal person? His gaze towards him gradually changed. Don't tell me this punk. In the past, vials of opium were scattered on the ground. What's wrong, old man? You're out. He kicked the frail man and ordered, Give me more drugs. The more he kicked, the more frustrated he became. Old man. What the hell? He saw that the old man was foaming at the mouth, already dead. Yangmu couldn't believe his eyes. He's dead. He took out his drug-fueled anger on his father's body. Damn it. Lived his whole life high and now dies from an overdose. He let out a tired sigh. If he died like that, how am I supposed to get drugs myself now? After saying that, Yangmu mercilessly kicked the corpse. He kicked and cursed to vent his frustration. How? How am I supposed to get them now? Suddenly, the old man's eyes lit up. He was startled and backed away. Old man, I thought you were dead. The old man didn't answer, but slowly sat up. What responded was not a person, but the spirit of a demon. Are you sad that he's dead? Yangmu wasn't afraid and just stared back, asking, You are. What the hell are you? It didn't answer and just continued. If you are sad, I will return him to you. Yangmu laughed as if he had heard a joke, clutching his chest. Sad? He's finally gone. Why should I be sad? He screamed in a rage. I don't need a trash father. I just need drugs. The ghost replied coldly. Is that so? It held out a flower to him and ordered, Then feed this carnivorous flower with his body. The ghost continued to sweet-talk him. With it, trust will be built between us, and you will have what you desire. Yangmu took the flower and looked at it doubtfully. A carnivorous flower? If anyone appears to deny your loyalty and discard the carnivorous flower, then deal with them. My trust will protect you. His eyes changed from an addict's to a demon's. The beautiful flower in his hand was like a huge treasure. Yangmu gave a cruel smile. He didn't hesitate to shove the flower into his father's corpse, causing fresh blood to splatter everywhere. Returning to the present, Yangmu looked at Dongmin-ho and asked again, You said I'm just a normal person? He thought for a moment, as if he understood. It seems you've put your trust in something. He didn't hide it. Instead, he felt grateful. Yes, he gave me a new life. Everything happened just as he thought. As expected, he made a pact with a demon. He tilted his head and cracked his knuckles. I don't know what kind of trash you put your faith in, but you and that bastard are pathetic. Yangmu's eyes widened in anger. How dare you insult him? He ordered the two men behind him to seize him. Bring him here. Suit panicked and quickly found a place to hide. Again, Dongmin-ho only needed a few seconds. This is getting boring. Let's end this quickly. After that, various cries of pain echoed throughout the forest. The ambulance sped down the road. When we launched IM, the number of orders exploded. Blue ribbon is sweeping through everywhere. Inside the ambulance, the mother clutched the vial of medicine, looking at her daughter who was receiving emergency treatment, her life hanging in the balance. Outside, schoolgirls were opening the app's interface. Increasing VIP customers nationwide will no longer be a problem, right? She happily accepted the vial, unaware of the hidden risks. Damn it! Are we going to become a global enterprise? Someone, after drinking it, was lying on the floor convulsing, like an addict. Songjun's group happily looked at the results. I think Mr. Yangmu has started to take over the Chinese and Japanese markets. If it's Mr. Yangmu, it's not impossible. Lim Xian sat silently inside, at a loss for words. He bit his nails while tormenting himself. Because I made the app, the drug spread too quickly. His face was on the verge of tears. In his heart, he prayed 1,000 times. Someone, please stop it. On the other side, the two bodyguards were quickly knocked down. Jin Jahi, tied up and kneeling on the ground, screamed, Look, Mr. Yangmu, this guy isn't human anymore. Dongmin-ho sighed and looked at him. Why don't you come over here? Yangmu remained silent. He remembered the words the ghost had once told him. If anyone appears to deny your loyalty and discard the carnivorous flower, then deal with them. He took out 3 candies from his hand. Yangmu popped the pills into his mouth and chewed greedily. As you command, Lord BAW. The girl sitting next to him screamed. Yangmu, I don't think he's just a high school student. He might be the one making a new drug. Dongmin-ho raised an eyebrow. What? A new drug? Me. As he was thinking about it, he suddenly froze when he realized he was right behind him. His eyes glanced back. Dongmin-ho quickly and beautifully blocked the punch. Yangmu was no slouch and quickly counterattacked. He used his arm as a shield. He's too fast. On a completely different level from those other guys. As if realizing what he was thinking, he smirked. How can you block my punches? Did you also receive a blessing from him? He stated coldly, He is my god. And mine alone. Dongmin-ho seemed to understand. Now I get it. The reason for the carnivorous flower and this disgusting smell. He directly hit a nerve with the name he spoke. The god you worship is BAW, isn't it? As expected, this move stunned him. What? How dare you speak his name? He immediately taunted. He chose a failure like you, who doesn't trust anyone. Yangmu, instead of listening, became furious. Don't insult the one who saved me. He pretended not to care. Right, he saved you. You must have looked pretty pathetic when he called your name while you were hiding. He roared, his mouth dripping with saliva. Shut up. He is not someone for you to slander. The next second, a flurry of punches was thrown, all of which he blocked. In Dong Min-ho's determined eyes, a sharp glint appeared. BAW. He really has come to this world. In the demon world, piles of undead corpses were stacked high. Lavis rampaged through the demon world. You coward. A figure hiding in a corner looked terrified upon hearing his taunts. All you know is how to run. His eyes, which had just swept past, held no warmth. Dong Min-ho no longer sat, and took the beating, but stood up. Being served like a king here. BAW. You bastard, where are you hiding? Yongmu, still not realizing the danger, challenged him. You bastard. You are not to speak of Lord BAW. He roared as his body emitted a strange light. It seemed he was transforming. He quickly covered his nose because of the smell. This stench. Yongmu was still muttering. Anyone who insults Lord BAW will be dealt with by me personally. He charged and grabbed him, delivering a powerful kick to his stomach. He grabbed his shirt and pulled him in when he stumbled. A second later, he lifted Dong Min-ho up and threw him hard to the ground without hesitation. He gritted his teeth in pain. On top of him, Yongmu continued to punch him relentlessly in the face. He punched and roared, both blue ribbon, and Lord BAW. Once he had touched the supreme being in his heart, he would surely show no mercy. Are all mine. He gritted his teeth, struggling to hold on. This bastard. He's eaten too much demonic energy and lost his mind. He really wants to kill me. He suddenly roared and delivered a final blow. He didn't back down either and flared up. Suit trembled in a corner, praying silently. Lord Lavis, no. Seeing Dong Min-ho lying there taking the beating, she worried endlessly. He's reached the limit of that mortal body. Suit thought to herself, if this were the demon world. She speculated, remembering, if he could truly use his demonic power. In the demon world, Banbi was also observing. It seems the test subject for the carnivorous flower has gone berserk. I thought that with the blood demon stone in hand, even in a human body, Lavis could easily control the test subject. He predicted, he might die this time, and his soul will vanish forever. Baka asked, Banbi, do you know what Lavis hates the most? He was confused. He explained, he hates almost everything. It's hard to pick just one. Banbi nodded as if he understood and sighed. Is his temper a bit hot? I wonder who he learned it from. Really? Baka immediately exposed him. Don't be sarcastic with that face of yours. I know everything. Caught. He immediately turned his face away. He uttered one word. Filthy. As if noticing Banbi's confusion, Baka chuckled. He's obsessed with things that aren't clean. Up above, the battle between defense and attack continued. Before the next blow, Dong Min-ho quickly blocked it. Filthy. Yongmu froze for a few seconds when he saw he was blocked. What? He shouted. I can't stand it anymore. The rotten smell you're emitting. The hands holding back his fists tightened. He cried out in pain and let go. Seeing him slowly stand up, Yongmu had to back away. What the? Dong Min-ho looked at his hand with doubt. Just with my left hand. It feels like a current is running through me, as if I'm using the hand of my real body. Dong Min-ho looked at him calmly. Yongmu maintained his angry expression from beginning to end. One of his hands was covered in flames. I don't want to touch your stinking body. But this time, Dong Min-ho was no longer holding back. So let's end this quickly. A powerful punch landed squarely on his face. Yongmu was suspicious. What? How can a brat have this kind of power? Suit was overjoyed. Lavis. Dong Min-ho was indifferent. A brat has what? Without letting his body recover, another blow was delivered. Yongmu fell backward in pain. The girl with him stumbled back a few steps. He had realized the danger. Who the hell are you? He warned. Don't talk nonsense with that stinking mouth of yours. Yongmu took another painful punch. Down below, Banbi was stunned. Suddenly so strong? Baka explained. Lavis, that kid, it seems he was stunned by the smell the test subject released after awakening. His firm expression was proof enough. It must have been difficult to approach, because Lavis hates filth more than anything. He leaned back and smirked. When fear takes over, his body will automatically awaken, letting him borrow a small part of his true power. His voice trembled. You mean, he can use his power even in a human body? Banbi's eyes widened in realization. Even with the blood demon stone, this should be impossible for a sinner's body to use demonic power. Baka had realized it from the beginning. Lavis is no ordinary person. He stated with full confidence, "No matter what anyone says, Lavis is my heir." On this side, Yongmu had been beaten to a pulp. Dong Minho strode over aggressively and warned, "You fool, consider yourself lucky." He looked at him and declared coldly, "That I will sentence you to death with this body." Yongmu had been pushed into a weak position. "Impossible, why? I, who received the blessing of Lord Baw." He propped himself up, fumbling, then looked behind him in confusion. A smile appeared on Yongmu's face. "That's right, Lord Baws, blue ribbon." Just as he was about to strike, Dong Minho grabbed him. "Don't you try anything." He got into position. "I'll finish this, but I won't kill you." His feet dug into the ground to gain momentum. Then, without hesitation, he charged. He widened his eyes as if accepting the outcome. It was another straight punch to the face that couldn't be blocked. Dong Minho clutched his own hand. Then he let go. His body was gradually changing. It seemed to be merging with the wall. Dong Minho reached into his shirt. He pulled out a cloth and wiped the remaining traces from his face. The smell has finally subsided a bit. A thought flashed through his mind when he saw the data running on the screen. "No, I can't." Lim Xian stared at the computer screen, sweating profusely. "This isn't what I wanted." A scene of him sitting alone at school appeared. The school cliques, the unavoidable relationships in class. Then a scene of Lim Xian standing from a distance, silently watching a group of people bully another student. Just to live peacefully without becoming a target, pretending to like this person, hate that person, without having to act close. The bullied student broke down. "I just wanted to help people find a place to form necessary relationships." Lim Xian and Dong Minho looked at the group with concerned eyes. "But," he gritted his teeth in anger, "I didn't create it to sell stimulants or do real estate business, or any of that stuff." Lim Xian's fingers, as if stimulated by something, flew across the keyboard. The lines of code on the screen shot by like arrows. While Lim Xian was gritting his teeth and typing code, the phones of the people outside suddenly reported an error, causing them great confusion. Why? Why is it suddenly erroring out like this? What the hell? Mine too. He glanced at the people behind him and gritted his teeth, thinking, "Hurry up." Then Lim Xian suddenly jumped up and quickly used a chair to block the door. The door was quickly blocked by the chair. The people outside now understood the reason and frantically pounded on the door. "Damn it! What's that bastard doing? Go check. Hey, open the door. Open the door for us now." Lim Xian quickly typed while thinking, "I have to delete the app permanently." Song Jun outside saw this and roared in anger. "Hey, you idiots! Open the door now." Lim Xian looked anxiously at the computer screen. "Hurry up, please." A red warning symbol suddenly appeared in the corner of the screen. At the same time, the people outside had used a chair to shatter the glass partition. They cursed angrily and quickly jumped in, terrifying him. "You son of a bitch." One of them angrily slapped Lim Xian hard. "What the hell are you doing?" The blonde guy walked up to the computer screen and yelled, "He really wants to bankrupt us." The other guy heard this and angrily kicked him hard. "You little bastard." Song Jun, standing beside them, yelled at the blonde guy, "Damn it. Stop it. Hurry up. We're all dead when Mr. Yongmu gets back." Lim Xian gritted his teeth and held his head, enduring the heavy kicks while thinking, "I just need to hold on until the app is completely deleted." He suddenly reached out and grabbed a piece of broken glass nearby. Somehow, Lim Xian turned and swung his arm, using the glass shard to cut the black-haired guy's leg until it bled. Then he quickly got up and ran. Lim Xian ran to a nearby fire extinguisher, gritted his teeth, and pulled the safety pin. Then he spun around forcefully. Lim Xian aimed the fire extinguisher straight at the group and roared in anger. "That's mine, you bastards." He angrily sprayed the fire extinguisher straight at the group, forcing them to cover their faces. What the hell? Damn it. The kid's gone crazy. The program on the computer screen was now almost finished. Damn it. The blue bar officially filled up. The program was completed. Lim Xian, with his teary eyes, looked over, filled with excitement. "I did it." Song Jun, ignoring all danger, angrily charged straight at him. "You son of a bitch." One of his hands forcefully squeezed Lim Xian's neck, causing the fire extinguisher in his hand to fall. Sung Jun pushed Lim Xian to the ground and roared in anger. Tie him up. Bring something to restrain him. Two blurry figures in the mist heard this and quickly acknowledged the order. Yes. Damn it. Lim Xian tried to escape Sung Jun's grip while thinking, no. He tried to open his tear-filled eyes. In the end, all I could do was just this. Sung Jun looked at Lim Xian angrily. You stupid punk. A tall figure suddenly appeared in the mist, his voice dark. How dare you? Touch my subordinate. Sung Jun turned his head in surprise. Huh. A hand quickly reached for him. His two accomplices turned their heads in surprise when they heard a scream from behind. The blonde guy called out softly, Mr. Sung Jun. Dong Min-ho was now holding his bloody head and turned to glance at the others. The other two were terrified and screamed, What the hell? Mr. Sung Jun. Seeing them, Dong Min-ho immediately threw Sung Jun aside and quickly charged forward. He unleashed a flurry of blows, punching the blonde guy until he was bruised and battered, unable to fight back. The other two were quickly taken down by Dong Min-ho and fell to the ground at the same time. He looked at the group and said in a cold voice, How dare you touch my subordinate? Even if he were to die, I wouldn't allow it. Lim Xian looked up at Dong Min-ho with tear-filled eyes. Me? Min-ho, huh? A scene of the two of them sitting under an eave suddenly appeared. At that moment, Lim Xian spoke up. Min-ho, look. This is an app one just made. He heard this and became curious. What kind of app? An app appeared on the phone screen. People who are close can gather here to interact. If you live near them, you can share your address with that person. And you can even form study groups. Dong Min-ho stared at the phone screen in front of him and exclaimed, That's amazing. You even made an app like this. He pointed to a warning horn symbol in the corner of the screen and asked curiously, So what's this? Lim Xian replied, That. Then he lowered his head and said sadly, Remember when you were dragged away by those thugs? I'm sorry I couldn't do anything. Lim Xian's eyes held an indescribable sadness. At that time, I really couldn't find you anywhere. So I added this feature. He began to explain the function of the red button on the screen. If you press it, it will show your location only to the people you've designated as friends. If that happens again, press it. Then Lim Xian suddenly turned to look at Dong Min-ho and declared, Then no matter what, I'll be there to help. I'll report it or gather friends to rescue you. Hearing this, he gave a faint smile. The two of them busily downloaded the application together. Thanks. I'll download it too. Back to the present, Lim Xian was looking up at him with his tear-filled eyes. Me? Min-ho. Dong Min-ho just held up the phone in his hand and asked coldly, You sent this, right? Lim Xian became even more emotional and said, You received my signal. The screen showed the app's interface. Tears began to stream down Lim Xian's face. He propped himself up on the ground and sobbed with gratitude. Thank you, Min-ho. Lim Xian knelt before Dong Min-ho and thanked him, trembling. Thank you so much. Outside, in that old alley, two voices were heard shouting and arguing. Damn it. How is she so strong? Let me go. Suit was now cuffing Jean Jahi's hands behind her back and said irritably, Hey, stop squirming. She suddenly turned her head when she saw him and said in surprise, Lord Lavis. Jean Jahi took this opportunity to quickly break free and run, causing Suit to shout in alarm. Hey, stop. Dong Min-ho just calmly spoke up to stop her. Let her go. We don't need her anymore. He looked up at the building behind him and thought, First of all, it seems all their carnivorous flowers will be lost. A huge fire was raging and showed no signs of being extinguished. Rescue workers and police quickly cleared the area and urgently said, This fire hasn't spread far. We have to put it out immediately. A firefighter suddenly spoke up. This is all of them. Inspector Cha was startled when she glanced at the three bodies lying by a tree. She stared at them with wide, shocked eyes. These people. The blonde guy was now beaten to a bloody pulp, his face covered in blood. His pupils were no longer intact. The three of them, Dong Min-ho, Lim Xian, and Suit, walked away leisurely. Lim Xian suddenly glanced over without saying anything. Suit was now happily skipping and singing. And Dong Min-ho was walking and thinking, Why do I get the feeling that Baka is using me? He frowned angrily and looked up at the sky. When I get back, I won't let this go. The streetlights were off. In the house of the three, Lim Xian asked about Dong Min-ho's injured hand. Are you sure you don't need to go to the hospital? He replied with a decisive tone. I'm sure. It's too much trouble to go there. Lim Xian smiled softly, his tone grateful. Thank you, Min-ho. I sent the distress signal just in case, but I didn't expect you to actually come. Dong Min-ho seemed to have just realized something. Speaking of which, he continued, it's a coincidence. On the way here, Before he could finish, Suit covered his mouth to stop him from saying more. Were you about to say that it was all just a coincidence? Along the path where Jean Jahi was leading, Suit grabbed her by the collar and interrogated her. Is this really the way to your hideout? If you dare lie to me, just look at that guy from earlier as an example. She replied resentfully. You're doing all this for your friend Lim Xian? Is that why you're willing to push things this far? Hearing this, Dong Min-ho seemed to guess and used psychological tactics to question her. What? You're holding Lim Xian? My number one slave? No wonder I haven't seen him at school lately. Jean Jahi seemed to snap and replied with an annoyed tone. So what? If it's not for your friend, then what's your motive? His phone screen lit up with a notification bell. Suit whispered to him about this. You absolutely cannot mention the word coincidence here. Human relationships don't work like that. He looked at her reluctantly as she spoke. You're not just going to live here for a year or two and then go back to the demon world, right? Lim Xian looked at him, his eyes shining with admiration. In this student's eyes, you are no different from a hero who came to his rescue. He turned to her and asked him curiously, Speaking of which, who is that? He replied, This one? He's my subordinate. His name is Suit. Lim Xian's eyes were vacant, stunned and bewildered as he thought, Subordinate? Could it be Min-ho? Without waiting long, he asked about his suspicion. Hey, Min-ho, can I ask you a question? Your sudden, illogical change, along with the appearance of a strangely dressed subordinate. Lim Xian gritted his teeth, trying to think that the current situation wasn't what he thought it was, and asked, You don't have. Then he lowered his face and thought, just as I thought. Min-ho has joined some shady organization. I hope he's not involved with bad people. Dong Min-ho thought that Lim Xian must have guessed something. In the future, it's highly likely that many people will target my subordinate. The cat will be out of the bag eventually. He shattered his thoughts by saying, Exactly. You guessed right. I am the son of the great demon king from the demon world, Lavis Vinica. In reality, Lim Xian was bewildered, not understanding what he was saying. Dong Min-ho sighed. Things have come to this, so I have no choice. Now that you know me, from now on, you have to help me with a few things. He himself didn't even know what he was talking about. The son of the great demon king? What are you rambling about? Suddenly, something made Lim Xian look down. It turned out to be the cat, which made him scream. It's this cat again. Dong Min-ho saw this and realized she was playing a trick, but was too lazy to explain. Hey, Suit. Explain it to him. I've been fighting all day, so my body is tired now. Suit, in cat form, replied, Yes. Prick up your ears and listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Seeing this, Lim Xian was terrified, his body stiff as he screamed, A talking cat. The scene changes to Yang Mu being tied up in a car. Detective Cha said, Everything has been burned. We'll leave first. His face was tattered, and he was now full of regret. That bastard. I could have killed him. I could have killed him. Suddenly, someone approached, looking very sinister. Who's there? This is a restricted area. It was BAW. He walked forward and placed his hand on Detective Cha's face. Shut up. Then he fell to the ground. Yang Mu. Poor child. You look so pathetic. Seeing BAW in front of him, he roared, Lord BAW. I will kill that bastard. BAW replied coldly. Let's talk as we walk. In the forest, Inspector Cha was thinking. We just received a report that all distribution points have been contained. Who on earth did this? Holding the bag of drugs, she pondered. This drug was even approved by the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. Clenching the bag in her hand, she was furious. A large amount has reached the students. Those damn bastards. Detective Cha was now fumbling up from the ground. My head hurts so much. Worried, she ran over and asked, Detective Cha, are you okay? He replied urgently. In the car. Check the car first. At this point, Yang Mu had disappeared. She was extremely alarmed and surprised. Impossible. She worried and pondered. What the hell is this? Where did that bastard go? In the school where BAW was. Han Yongmu knelt down. Lord BAW, please give me one more chance. He shouted as if he was going mad. If you give me more drugs, if I have more drugs, I'll take that bastard's life. BAW, holding a flower from the burned pile, said coldly. Do you know how valuable those burned flowers were? All around were corpses, with cold purple flowers woven into them. Do you know how much effort I put into collecting these people? He looked at the flower as if it were the last one. Humans are all trash, not to be trusted. My precious flowers. Han Yongmu, now scared, begged. I just need one more chance. I'm begging you. I'll definitely kill that bastard. Before he could continue, BAW pushed the flower through his eye, making him scream in pain. My eye, BAW said without a shred of pity. Do you remember the blood oath you made to me? He uttered cold words. Use the flowers that grow from your own body to prove your loyalty to me. Jean Jahi was now rummaging in a corner of the room for something. Damn it. I have to survive at all costs. If I can just find my wallet, I can get out of here. She searched frantically. Damn it. Where the hell is it? I went to the office, but those bastards were there. Before she could finish, someone who looked barely human appeared and said, I just came to take a look, but it turns out you're here. Jean Jahi was startled and backed away in fear. Who are you? This is crazy. Why are you trying to cause trouble at a time like this? He showed a clear look of thirst and anger. You bitch. It's all your fault. Blue ribbon. Give it to me. She gritted her teeth, her face filled with rage. This short-circuited bastard. How many pills have you chewed? Grabbing a wooden plank from the corner of the room, she attacked him. Damn it. What hole did you crawl out of? The blow didn't faze him at all, and instead caused her to fall. Damn it. Blue ribbon. Give it to me. As if going mad, he emitted a black aura that enveloped him. Blue ribbon. The aura blinded Jean Jahi, making her unable to move. Damn it. At this point, she was so scared she cried. I don't want to die like this. From the black smoke, Banbi appeared. If this happens, Lavis will be very upset. Jean Jahi didn't have time to recognize who it was, and just urgently cried for help. Who is that? Help me. Please. Banbi's words were cold and merciless. Sorry, I'm not that strong. And you already have a spot reserved in hell. So you should just be a good girl and accept your fate, right? Bitter and humiliated, she cried out in fear. Damn it. Hell. What? Then Banbi smiled, a smile that would frighten anyone. But your body can still be of use in the human world. In the domain where Ines was standing. Welcome, my little brother Baka. It seems you've been plotting something ever since you sent Lavis to the human world. She turned to look at Baka with a cold expression. How dare you? Use my son. Baka laughed with delight. You figured it out, have you? He continued, to reassure her, don't worry. Lavis is all grown up now. Did you think I would just send him off like that? I've placed a blood demon stone inside his body. At this, she completely exploded. What? A blood demon stone? You've completely lost your mind. Are you trying to announce to the whole world that the son of the great demon king is alone in the human world? Seeing her worry, he was too lazy to explain. Sister, why don't you try trusting Lavis a little? She just replied calmly. It's not that I don't trust Lavis. I'm worried about the way this world is operating. She continued. Even the smallest crack can cause everything to collapse. The world is that unstable right now. Baka shattered her thoughts and replied, Lavis is stronger than you think. He's belligerent like me, and his fighting strength surpasses anyone's. Angrily, she grabbed Baka's head and scolded him. You brat. That's exactly the problem. If even a single hair on Lavis's soul is harmed, both you and I are dead meat. Got it. Seeing that he was no longer young but still being bullied by his sister, he said resentfully, How old am I that you're still hitting me on the head? Banbi, search every magic book for me. Find a way to get rid of all the older sisters in the world. Banbi didn't agree either. Shut up. I don't want a crazy little brother like you. Can you two calm down? She angrily grabbed Baka's head. Banbi thought, Lavis, it's a miracle you managed to survive and grow up in an environment like this. At Dung Min Ho and Lim Sion's place. He shivered but still had to ask again. So you're really a demon, right? Dung Min Ho replied. That's what humans call us. Suit was now overjoyed to hear him say. He said us. Lim Xian was hesitant. Now that I know the truth, will I go to hell when I die? He immediately replied, hell is right here. If you come with me to the demon world, no one will be able to touch you. Putting on a dangerous air, he said menacingly, because the sole heir of the great demon king, I, Lavis, am your master. No, he refused in terror. You don't need to protect me. I don't want to go to a place like that. Seeing him so scared, he put on a teasing face. Just try to go back. I'll gouge out Ban B's eyes and suck on them like lollipops. Lim Xian wondered, so then, what happened to the real Minho? Suit, in cat form, also replied, he was destined to die anyway. As a rule, only the bodies of such people can be used as vessels. At this point, he squeezed his eyes shut, a troubled look on his face. Impossible. Why did Minho have to die? Seeing him like that, Dong Minho said, don't be so gloomy. After all, we'll all meet in the demon world in a few decades anyway. Lim Xian looked completely helpless, trying to accept it. So it's confirmed that I'm definitely going to the demon world. Seeing him sad, he turned to Suit and said, humans really have a rich, but useless, imagination. The demon world is actually a pretty fun place, right, Suit? She also agreed. Yes, that's right. Her voice was threatening. Our home is filled with the smell of blood and screams. Her demeanor made Lim Xian even more scared. Please stop. Dong Minho looked at Lim Xian and advised, you still have a long way to go before then. Don't worry, just treat me as you did before. And don't reveal this anywhere. Scared, Lim Xian replied, yes. Dong Minho also started to move. My whole body is aching again. I'm leaving. Suit's voice came from behind. Let's go together, Lord Lavis. Dong Minho was exhausted. My head hurts so much. Did I use too much of the Blood Demon Stone's power? Suddenly, Dong Minho appeared, holding a birthday cake. Brother, happy birthday. Dong Minho still didn't know it was his birthday. Huh? Birthday? Dong Minho smiled happily. Mom and I worked hard to make this cake since yesterday. I can't guarantee how it tastes, though. Placing a birthday hat on his head, she said, Mom and Dad will be home soon. She held up her camera and said, all right, let's start with a birthday selfie. Dong Minho seemed to realize something. What's that on your face? She laughed and explained it away. Some guys were bullying an old lady pushing a cart, so I intervened. It's nothing. I did something unnecessary. He thought deeply. Helping others when you're not even strong yourself? Strange. She scooped up a spoonful of cake and held it in front of him. Anyway, you must be hungry. Here, eat. He ate the piece of cake as if he were enjoying a delicacy. What is this? White, soft, and sweet. What does this taste? While they were enjoying themselves, Tae-sik stormed in. You bastards. His footsteps were angry. Find out where the bastards who threw eggs at me live. I'll kill them all. The people following him replied. He lost control and punched one of his followers. No, it's more like I'll kill someone first. You can't even handle something like this. His wife saw this and tried to stop him. Honey, stop. He pushed her hand away and shouted, let go. Dong Minho saw the urgent situation and rushed in to intervene. Please stop. Mom didn't do anything wrong. He shouted, what? Looking at the birthday cake, Tae-sik grew enraged. What the hell is this? Your father is getting eggs thrown at him while campaigning, and you're sitting here eating cake. He pushed her and cursed. What kind of person are you? Furious, he swiped the cake away. If I were your real father, could you even swallow this? His wife saw this and tried to reason with him. Honey, please. Today is Minho's birthday. He was furious. Birthday? At a time like this? With angry steps, he turned towards the door. What a suffocating family. At this point, Dong Minho also lost his temper. My cake. How dare you touch my things? His mother collapsed, hugging Dong Minho and sobbing. I'm sorry, my children. I'm sorry. She also comforted her. No, Mom. You didn't do anything wrong. Dong Minho's eyes were incredibly cold as he thought about Tae-sik. That guy. What an arrogant mortal. In the office where Tae-sik was raging. That bastard Mu didn't even send the money and cut off all contact. I don't know what godforsaken corner he's hiding in. He gritted his teeth. If we want to get even a single picture with Congressman Park, we need to pay up first. Mu, that damn bastard. His henchman replied. I'll do my best to find Mu, sir. He clenched his fist. It's so frustrating that we have to bow down to a bastard like that just to increase our approval ratings. And every single one of these trash is acting like trash. A henchman rushed in from the door. Sir, a video of Minha is going viral online. He asked urgently. What? What video? Then he handed the video to him. Please take a look at this, sir. In the video, Minha was holding a camera and filming the bullies. Hey, you guys. I'm recording all of this. Stop it, the bully shouted. Hey, you crazy bitch. Who are you to interfere? She retorted. Why are you bullying an old lady? You bastards. He got angry. This bitch. Then the voices of the people around them. Hey, let's go. Damn it. What are you looking at? I said let's go, you son of a bitch. Minha then approached the old lady to check on her. Are you okay, ma'am? The old lady's voice was grateful. Oh, thank you, young lady. Yu Tae-sik watched up to that point and asked, something like this happened to Minha? His henchman replied, yes, sir. If we reveal that Minha is your daughter, it will greatly help your approval ratings. The comments are exploding. He was like a fish in water, his voice full of delight. Really? He looked at the video and thought, this could really create a good image. Those words made Minha unconsciously freeze. But the conflict before them still occurred as Yu Tae-sik suddenly slapped his wife hard and scolded her. What? Leaving? You ungrateful woman, daring to forget my kindness. Go ahead and cause trouble as you please, but you can't take Yu Minho or Yu Minha anywhere. Their names are on my family register. Minho's mother was beaten until she trembled before she managed to plead, please let us go. But she only received his challenging threats. Go ahead and try. See if you can survive without a single penny. Minha nearby couldn't stand his cruelty and shouted, Grandpa gave us things. That's not yours, Uncle. Uncle Yu Tae-sik. He once again sneered. Just like your miserable mother. So naive. Know what the real key to survival is? Once I get my hands on something, it's mine forever. Remember that well, my daughter, Minha. Her expression darkened as she was forced to yield to Yu Tae-sik's callousness. Yes, this is my choice. Minha's brow furrowed as she glanced at him and shouted, I'll do it. On one condition. If I earn money, put it under my name. That's my condition. Minha's eyes were more determined than ever as she thought decisively. I will save my mother and brother from that monster. Suddenly, Yu Tae-sik laughed and replied, a condition? Minha, that's a matter of course. Your hard work is your own. Han Yunju nearby also smirked before adding, let's do it that way. Shall we sign the contract now? President, please take care of Minha. She's more precious to me than my own life. But Minha's mother showed clear unease on her face. She asked, Minha, are you sure? But she was now very confident as she turned to her and replied with a firm tone, yes, Mom. Just trust me this one time. Thank you for your concern, brother. Minho saw that steadfastness, which left him speechless. The scene changes as a car speeds through the night. Han Yunju had a strangely crazed expression as she commented, the more I look, the more I see how perfect she is. My new vessel, her appearance, her eyes, even that rare purity you don't see these days. I like everything about her. Han Yen, sitting next to her, glanced over with his sharp eyes and interjected, but that Yu Minho guy, he seems off. Hearing that, she looked up at her in front and asked, Hansu, what do you think? She didn't think much and just calmly pointed out, Minha's brother. I sense something special. Hansu's eyes closed slightly in boredom as she continued, definitely not human. Han Yunju's face now showed a few sparks of interest as she realized, if you say so, he could be a tracker from the demon world. While still considering the situation, Han Yin suddenly tilted his head and eagerly cut in. Do you want me to take care of him, Mom? But seeing his eagerness, she gently refused. Not yet. Acting rashly could cause bigger problems. Let's just observe for now. Minha is the top priority. But he couldn't help but roar. That bastard's back. I want to tear him to shreds. Han Yunju thought of Minha and gently reassured him. Be patient, my dear. The moonless night is coming soon. Once we perform the ritual and make Minha mine, you can do whatever you want with that brat Minho. He was now lying on her lap, and his eyes widened with delight as he exclaimed, Really? Promise. Of course. Her hands reached out to gently stroke Han Yan's forehead as she replied, It's my gift to you. I promise, son. Suddenly, Hansu's voice rang out. Maras, then I. This made Han Yunju's eyes fly wide open in shock. What? Maras? Hansu. Never mention that name again. I am Han Yunju. No, I am reborn as Dung Minha. No demon king. No 12 black thrones. Nothing can stop me. I will not fail this time. Time fast forwards to the next morning. Dung Minha stood before a towering building. Her eyes looked at it with a strange determination as she unconsciously sighed and thought, I can do this. Then she strode forward with purpose. In another room, a voice echoed. Everyone, pay attention to her. Introducing the newest member of our family, Minha. Han Yunju put her arm around Dung Minha and continued. You've probably seen her on social media already. Minha will be the center for Nox's new group, Zara. At this, Han, standing in the crowd, felt dissatisfied and spoke up. President, isn't this decision a bit too sudden? I've been training for the center position all this time. She didn't dismiss her persistence and praised her. Han, you've done well. From now on, please support Minha as her partner. With that, Han Yunju turned and left, but not without reminding her. Keep up the good work, Han. She also replied politely. The door to the room closed with a soft click. On the other hand, with the two girls, Han had started to get agitated and argue with Dung Minha. So you have a powerful backer, huh? What? The daughter of a mayoral candidate? You must love relying on connections. Stealing the center position that I've shed blood for over 4 years? Didn't you say when you joined that you wouldn't sign the contract if you couldn't be the center? Seeing her angry face made her unconsciously tense up and stammer. No, I. Before she could finish, she swung her hand and slapped Dung Minha straight across the face. No, my ass. Hayen's face contorted dramatically as she growled a threat. Let's see how far that backing of yours can take you. But she just glanced at her, unable to say a word. Her hand was placed near her cheek where the wound from Hayen's slap had just been formed. Meanwhile, Han Yunju had moved to another room. She slowly entered, just in time to see her son Han Yin excitedly shouting, This is awesome. Mom's going to go crazy. At the same time, he noticed Han Yunju and turned to her. Mom, look at this. This made her curious and she asked, What is it, Han Yin? Han Yin pointed at the screen before hastily replying. Hayen scratched Minha's face. There's blood. There's blood. The image reflected on the screen now created a moment of silence where no one spoke. But over here, Han Yunju gritted her teeth and muttered, That insect. Worse than trash. Her face showed so much anger that a vein popped on her forehead as she roared, Daring to scar my precious vessel. The scene changes. Voices echoed in the air. So Minha is debuting? That's a big deal. Nox is really popular, right? She could dominate the human world if she does well. Lim Xian looked at the girl in front of him and said, Suit, you know everything, huh? But she just replied confidently after a long laugh. I've lived in the human world for 200 years, you know. On the other hand, Dung Minho nearby just crossed his arms, his eyes half closed, and slowly said, If that's what my little sister wants, it has nothing to do with me. But that president and her kids get on my nerves. No demonic energy, but they didn't even flinch at my glare. They could be demons hiding in the human world. Suit also switched to serious mode and slowly pointed out the problem. Demons who have been in the human world for a long time can hide their demonic energy as easily as flipping their hand. It's better to be careful. Even you, Lavis, shouldn't just recklessly shoot it out from Minho's body. Even he had to calmly agree with this. That's right, Minho. No one likes that bloodthirsty side of yours. Hearing that, he narrowed his eyes but kept his voice calm and continued. Anyway, they are very suspicious. Even without demonic energy, I can still recognize demons. On the contrary, Lim Xian wasn't paying much attention and quietly turned away, whispering a tease. Even though you couldn't find Baka. Those words made Dung Minho furious. He pointed at him and grumbled, Suit, drag this brat back to the demon world right now. Throw him into the hellish training camp. This made her so excited she wanted to jump up and down, replying, Yes, my lord. But he just shouted, Stop threatening me. I know not just anyone can go if they want to. He still couldn't shake off his anger and thought, I don't know how to use the blood demon stone properly, so even dogs look down on me. Suit, have you found a way to regain the power of the blood demon stone? She immediately replied with both eyes wide with excitement. Yes. As you ordered, I found a way to restore Lavis's demonic power. Hearing that, Dong Minho crossed his arms in satisfaction and declared, I will regain my power. You will go and scout Han Yunju and those twins with servant number 1. Suit didn't hesitate and replied, understood. But Lim Xian was stunned and thought, me? A servant? The scene changes as a figure slowly moves through the night. Heian walked, wiping her tears while constantly complaining. This can't be happening. After 4 years of preparation. Suddenly, the metallic sound of a long sword rang out. They stood menacingly behind her, startling her so much that she turned around and asked, who's there? Before her, it was none other than Hansu, still with a calm expression, holding a sharp sword in each hand. This sight made Heian tremble with fear. What's wrong? Did I do something wrong? Wait, if it's about Minha, I'm sorry. I just lost my temper for a moment. While she was still begging with tear-filled eyes, they suddenly widened. Instantly, Hansu, without a word, swung her sword at her. Streams of red blood spurted out like rain, staining the surrounding walls. After she was done, she showed no remorse and just muttered, why did you slap her face? Then she just turned and walked away decisively, despite the other half of the head, and said, Mom hates that the most. As two figures strode through the silent night, their cheerful conversation echoed. Yunju, don't come home so late. I was so worried about you. Your father bought chicken for the 2 little ones and is on his way home. I couldn't just sit at home and wait. You're so lovely. Are you sure this is what the 2 little ones really want? Or is my dear wife craving it? But contrary to their cheerfulness, a shaggy and extremely savage monster appeared behind them. The scene changes to a high-end, towering apartment building. Han Yunju, who was sleeping, suddenly stirred and made a pained sound. She unconsciously and slowly woke up as her eyes slowly opened. But before her was the monster from before, hovering over her and muttering, I really like this body. This made her panic and exclaim, who are you? But the monster didn't answer. He attacked Han Yunju, making her cough while growling. Shut up. I will crush all of you humans. Don't worry about the children. I will raise them very carefully. You see, I need a child. Although her body was possessed, a mother's instinct still tried to scream in choked words. No, my children. But the monster didn't hesitate and continued to crawl into Han Yunju's mouth. Soon, he had slipped into her mouth. Instantly, he had taken over her body and laughed maniacally. At this moment, Han Yunju's husband beside her woke up, his face still sleepy, and asked, what's that sound, my love? Immediately, he realized something was wrong and exclaimed in confusion, my love. And then the window of their apartment suddenly slammed shut, and he was instantly grabbed by the neck by Han Yunju, making him panic. My love, what are you doing? On the contrary, she asked suspiciously, are you really my husband? You look so inferior. How could I live with someone like this? Han Yunju's husband now seemed to have fully realized and exclaimed in confusion, you? Who are you really? But she just indifferently pushed his hand away, releasing his neck, and said, why do you care? But in reality, he was free falling from the top of the apartment building. No, Yunju. Then the sound of bones shattering echoed, along with fresh blood splattering everywhere. The monster possessing Han Yunju's body showed no remorse and just put its hands on its pregnant belly. Its face immediately became crazed as it affirmed, this body is now mine. The scene changes to another room as a roar of pain echoes. Han Yunju on the hospital bed was in so much pain that she thrashed violently. Damn it, it hurts so much. This made the doctors worry and try to calm her down. What are you doing? Please calm down, ma'am. But she refused to listen and screamed angrily. Shut up and get these filthy things out of me right now. Get them out before I kill all of you. It's all that bitch Inessa's fault. Sometime after giving birth, looking at the result made the doctor extremely confused. What's going on? The children. The 2 newborn babies had opened their eyes, and they were red and black, which shocked them. This is impossible. Time slowly moved to night. Han Yunju, with a slimmer body after giving birth, still couldn't stop criticizing. My body feels so sluggish. It must be because I just gave birth. Look at this disgusting belly fat. When will it disappear? Meanwhile, the 2 children looked up at her, making hesitant calls. Mama. But she just kicked him and grumbled, "Hey, if you've taken my demonic power, you'd better pay me back. How long are you going to stay like this? Grow up quickly and protect me, until I find a vessel that can completely contain my vengeful soul." The scene continues to open another page with a more lively atmosphere, but she had to stand amidst the gossip of countless people. I know she's in shock because her husband died, but isn't this a bit too much? Comfort has its limits. She's not the Yeonju we used to know anymore. What about the children? She doesn't even let anyone see their faces. I heard she's rarely home anymore. She was so happy when she finally got pregnant after so much difficulty. But Han Yeonju didn't care about the whispers and only cared about the young man in front of her. "You said you work in television? Then you must know a lot of beautiful and handsome children, right?" Those words made him unconsciously confused, and he stammered a reply. Then he slowly spoke up. "So then," but before he could finish, his head fell onto her shoulder. After she was done with this one, she smiled slyly and thought, "Ines, there's no shortage of young and beautiful things even in this hell on earth. I will make every single one of them mine." Han Yeonju remembered her image and stated with certainty, "One day, I will kill you with my own hands." Returning to the present, Han Yeonju was using fake tears to report. Inspector Haein was a girl who was destined to be the center of the upcoming group. She was more talented and had higher expectations than anyone. At this, the inspector opposite her asked, did the victim have any conflicts with her colleagues? Or perhaps she was being stalked by someone. Hearing that made her cough, and she replied hesitantly, "About that." Noticing this, the inspector had to ask, "Are you okay, President?" But Han Yeonju just hesitated and made nauseous sounds. I. Just then, Han Yan, who was behind her, gently interrupted their conversation. "Inspector, I think it's best we stop here for today." The president saw the girl as her own daughter. Seeing this, Hansu, beside her, added, "Why don't you go see the other trainees first?" The inspector heard this and didn't press further, slowly standing up. "Yes, I understand. Then, if you'll excuse me. Let's go, Inspector Cha." "Yes." Although she was leaving, she didn't forget to glance back at them. Then the sound of the door closing echoed. Han Yeonju, who seemed genuinely unwell, froze. Immediately after, she vomited a pile of bright green liquid. Underneath it were maggots still squirming. Seeing the liquid and what had just happened, she became furious and shouted, "That damn inspector! Snooping around like he's hunting rats. Do you know how much money I spent on them? What the hell are the higher-ups doing?" Han Yin saw this and bowed slightly, gently reassuring her. "He'll stop eventually." On the contrary, those words didn't help and only fueled her rage. "My body is rotting. I'm dying of impatience. How dare that little Haein leave a scar on my vessel?" But he didn't hesitate to embrace her rotting body and console her. "Are you worried, Mom? I'll have Dong Minha's body ready for you soon, so don't be so stressed, okay?" After that sentence, Han Yeonju seemed to realize something and said, "That's right. Hansu, let's begin." Then the room echoed with calculating words. "I'm sure you've all heard the news about Han. Some crazy bastard, or maybe some crazy bitch. This world has too many psychopaths. Attacking a high school girl in broad daylight. I'm worried for your safety, and to stabilize this uneasy atmosphere, we'll start living in the dorms from tomorrow. So prepare and come to work." Dong Minha, standing opposite them, heard this and slowly raised a question. "Dorms? Is that really necessary?" Han Yin noticed her hesitation and tilted his head, pointing out, "Is there a reason you can't? Don't you know that idle dorms are mandatory? Become one with my body." Those words made her anxious and she thought, "But if I'm not at home, my mom and brother." Hansa beside her seemed to have lost patience and cut in. You really have a lot of demands. If you really can't do it, I'll." Instantly, he turned to calm her down. "Calm down, Hansu. What are you going to do? The moment you leave a scratch on her face, Mom will kill you. Minha, you understand, right?" President Han was really concerned about Han. "She's extremely sensitive right now, so don't make this scary older sister angry and just listen, okay? The president will explain everything to your parents, so pack your bags and meet here tomorrow." "Got it." The two girls standing next to Dong Minha, although worried, still replied, "Yes." But she remained silent, her head bowed with a mess of thoughts. Living in a dorm. I was already feeling anxious because even my brother has been acting differently lately. The scene changes to another area under the night sky. Dong Min-ho looked at Lim Sion, who was struggling to lift a small weight, and thought with disdain, "You call that training? My knots are gradually getting stronger. I can suppress humans who use demonic power, but if I encounter a demon beast in this state, it will still be a tough fight. That bastard Ban B. If he's going to use me, he should at least teach me how to control the blood demon stone." Not long ago, from Ban B, as he was lying on his stomach on the bed, slowly swinging his legs. I should include how to control the blood demon stone in the letter. "Dear my best friend Lavis, since you are still very weak, I will give you 2 gifts. First, how to control the blood demon stone. Originally, the blood demon stone was used to suppress the demonic power of prisoners. That's right. The blood demon stone contains the demonic power sealed within your remaining soul. I've modified yours to directly link the demonic power in your vengeful soul to your human body. That power will only be fully released once the blood demon stone is broken. My eye has to be shattered for it to open. And the second gift, I've sent that child to you. I'm sorry. I love you, and I'm entrusting them to your care. Your friend, Ban B." He held up the letter he had just written, his eyes filled with satisfaction as he thought, "Done. Now I just need to get this letter to Lavis. Read it carefully and regain your strength, Lavis." But Dong Min-ho angrily tore it into pieces. "That bastard. He plans to use me as he pleases? I'll tear him to shreds before he even gets to the shore. That damn Ban B. He didn't read it. Could it be that the method was written in that letter?" Suddenly, at this moment, Suit, in cat form, rushed over. "Master Lavis. Master Lavis. Something terrible has happened." Seeing the strange sight of a cat, Lim Sion beside him was confused. "It's running on 2 legs. But he just calmly asked, "What is it now?" She looked up at him and hastily reported the situation. "About Han Yunju and the twins you asked about." "What about them?" "It's Mara's. That president, Han Yunju, she's Mara's." He, standing on the side, heard the name and became confused, asking, "Mara's? Who's that?" "The greedy witch. One of the 12 black thrones. It seems Mara's has possessed a human body and is living here." Hearing that, Dong Min-ho smirked with interest. He immediately looked over, his mouth opening to speak words that didn't form. A lively scene of laughter and chatter unfolds. At the same time, a group of people gathered and praised, "Lady Ines, you are truly the most beautiful goddess of the demon world. The mountains are adorned even when you are silent. How can one person be so beautiful?" She wasn't modest and replied arrogantly, "To have beautiful lips, one must first learn to keep the truth in one's heart." This made another noblewoman blush with admiration. "Truly a noble lady. Every word you speak is like poetry. It is because you speak the truth that you are always so beautiful." Not just her, but others nearby also praised her endlessly. "I just had my daughter learn the art of flattery, hoping one day it will be of help to Lady Ines. I want to teach her that words can be as sharp as a knife, as well as a person's virtue." Ines heard this and didn't hesitate to reach out and kindly say, "I understand. Then I will bless this young lady with the gift of silver tongue." They heard this and rejoiced, not forgetting to say words of thanks. "Thank you so much, Lady Ines." At this moment, Mars, from a distance, felt a pang of jealousy and sneered, "What nonsense." The person next to her heard this and gently tried to calm her down. "Lady Mars, you look very splendid too." But she just glanced at her, a contemptuous smirk on her face, and said indifferently, "Thanks. I'll bless your daughter too. May she drown in a sea of desire and die in extreme pain." Those words made the young lady cover her mouth and let out a disgusted retch. Mars looked over at Ines and screamed with envy in her heart, "Just you wait. I won't let this go, Ines." Returning to the present, Suit continued to report with a very serious expression. Lady Mars is enraged with Lady Ines. Meanwhile, Dong Min-ho, after hearing the whole story, just crossed his arms and commented, "According to my mother, she's been like that since she was a child. Of course, she doesn't care. As soon as she was promoted to the 12 black thrones, she was caught stealing from the well of demon souls. So she escaped to the human world and turned it into a living hell." Lim Sion, who still didn't know the full story, curiously interjected, "But why did that witch approach Minha? Do you think she knows Lavis?" He didn't look back at him and just replied thoughtfully, "Probably not. If she knew, things wouldn't have been quiet for so long. Anyway, at this point, I can't fight her. And that one is not normal either." Suit, in cat form, suddenly put her hands on her hips and said resolutely, "Then we must increase the energy of the blood demon stone. I'll go prepare right away." Her eyes suddenly became strangely sinister as she laid out her plan. Step 1. Stir up the neighbors. The scene shifts to the bustling supermarket. Minha and her mother were shopping together, but she couldn't stop nagging. "Minha, even now, if you want to quit, just say so. Since you started working, a lot of bad things have happened. I'm worried." She noticed her anxiety and gently spoke to calm her down. "It's okay, Mom. Manager Han said the culprit will be caught soon. It's clear he killed randomly." Minha's mother's brow furrowed deeply as she continued. "You've always dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, haven't you?" Just then, they passed by an item that caught both their attention. And it couldn't have been more of a coincidence that they had just passed the pet food aisle. This made Minha fall into deep thought. To make that dream come true, it will take a lot of time. I want to free Mom from that hell as soon as possible, with my own strength. Suddenly, she gripped the shopping cart tightly. Then she turned to her mother with a cheerful face. "Mom, opportunities like this don't come easily. Dreams often change. I'll become famous quickly and earn a lot of money." On the contrary, she still wasn't reassured and replied, "But if you live in the dorm, I won't be able to see you much anymore." Minha still replied confidently, "Don't worry about me. And him too. When the election is over, everything will calm down." But the more confident she was, the more her mother felt like a burden. Her expression darkened considerably as she said in a low voice, "I'm sorry, Minha. You wouldn't have lost your motivation if I hadn't remarried." She immediately noticed her self-deprecation and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't say that, Mom. You're still young. It was hard raising both me and my brother. Dad's death wasn't your fault. And before you two got married, he treated us pretty well. We were deceived." The mother's eyes narrowed slightly. Seeing that determination left her speechless. Minha. But Minha remained firm in her decision and said resolutely, "You just need to wait a little longer, Mom. I'll work hard." The scene shifts to an amusement park as a scream echoes in the air. On the other side, a group of people were experiencing the thrill of a roller coaster and screaming their heads off. Minha looked up at them from below and sneered with a confused expression. "Pathetic humans. What's so scary about that?" Limon, next to him, saw this and commented, "Minho, for a demon, you sure puke a lot, huh?" Hearing that, he suddenly became agitated and retorted, "I only got sick because I ate something bad." This made him grumble again. "Look what you're saying. I told you not to ride it." But Minho just narrowed his eyes in annoyance while firmly reminding himself, "I'm never riding that again." Then they moved to another game area with an extremely spooky entrance gate. Minho still calmly asked, "Suit, is it here?" She replied decisively, "Yes, Lord Lavis. Absolutely. A demon imprisoned in the human world recently escaped surveillance, but I tracked him down with my keen instincts." Hearing that, he looked curious. Then he turned his face and raised his question. "What's his name?" His image appeared grotesquely as she explained. It can turn human screams into a source of demonic power, converting the sound waves of fear into demonic energy and feeding itself. So bringing someone who screams loudly here will be effective. Suddenly, Minho turned to look at Limon and stated his value. "Really? You're finally useful." In his surprise, his mouth was faster than his brain. "Of course. I'm a man. What's there to be afraid of? I've never screamed once in my life." And as soon as he said that, he didn't hesitate to drag him away. "Let's go inside," he said, making Limon exclaim in terror, "Wait." Meanwhile, Suit, with a serious expression, confidently took charge. "I'll guard the exit. You two be careful." As soon as they entered, they were greeted by spooky, terrifying faces. But Minho just commented indifferently, "Why are humans afraid of these things? They're just for decoration." On the contrary, he had shrunk back and was hiding behind him. Maybe it's like what Suit said. "I feel strange. There's something here." He looked at his trembling figure and slowly reminded him, "That's what we came here to catch. Stop trembling." But he wasn't confident for long before a head shot past them, making them both jump and let out a terrified scream. They both trembled, staring at the head with wide eyes. Almost clinging to each other, Lim Xian suddenly froze as he realized something. Did you just curse? You were startled too. But Dong Min-ho had an ego the size of the sky and shouted, "Shut up. I was just pretending," to see how the enemy would react. Then he also realized something and asked, "That was your first scream, wasn't it?" This made him hesitate and reply, "I guess so." On the other side, a pair of glowing blue eyes were staring at them. But they were completely unaware and just walked and talked. Are you sure this is the fastest way? Every time the blood demon stone reacts to an evil human, a little of its power is released. So if it reacts even more strongly, then it's a demon, and the blood demon stone will become even stronger. While they were discussing, a monster suddenly rushed towards them and commented, "That scream of yours just now. Sweet, clear, like crimson blood. As pure as a newborn's first cry." This made Lim Xian exclaim in shock, "What is that thing?" Strium suddenly swung its large hand, rushing towards the two of them as it continued, "Your scream is delicious." Scream. Seeing the sharp claws about to reach him made him so terrified he trembled. "Scream for me. Is this a demon?" As it was about to reach him, another smaller hand suddenly landed on it. Dong Min-ho looked at it with a stern expression as he slowly said, "Don't touch him. He is my servant." Strium's blue eyes shifted to him before commenting, "Who are you? You're not human." Suddenly, Dong Min-ho's expression changed drastically. His eyes became a fiery red, full of demonic charm, as he slowly questioned, "Strium, will I be able to hear a scream from your mouth?" Dong Min-ho looked on coldly, a malicious smile on his face. And then, Strium attacked him. "What do you think you can do?" "Min-ho." Lim Xian was thrown back by the immense power and screamed his name. Seeing this, it gloated and provoked. "Yes, yes." Just like that. In a difficult situation, he gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with rage. "Right now, I can only use my left hand." He ran towards the monster. Seeing him run, Strium looked on with a sneer. "Where are you going?" And then it unleashed a huge wave of power, attacking him directly. Hit by the terrifying wave of power, he fell to the ground. Seeing this, Lim Xian shouted, "Be careful, Min-ho." Lim Xian was now so scared that it only made it more triumphant. "More! Scream louder!" Dong Min-ho felt a surge of anger as he just stood there screaming. He shouted, "Shut your damn mouth. Your whining from the start has only made it stronger." Lim Xian, worried and scared, covered his mouth and said, Sorry." It looked at the scene and said with delight, those eyes filled with fear. It continued to create a wave of power to attack Dong Min-ho. The impact made the ground tremble. "I'll turn them into headphones and wear them everywhere." Not letting it be triumphant any longer, Dong Min-ho fought back. He looked at it and said, "Who?" He leaped in front of it, his hand already moving. Said I was scared? Dong Min-ho launched an attack, but it dodged. Its tone was mocking. "Look at you, flailing around with those stupid hands. Cute. You're very cute." After an attack that was disadvantageous for him and didn't harm it at all, he reconsidered. "Even my jumping is at a human level. With this body, I can't even beat it." Then it grabbed him and lifted him into the air. Lim Xian, on the ground, could only watch and call his name. "Min-ho." He struggled to escape its large hand, but it wouldn't allow it and continued, creating a sharp energy from its finger. "This is a sword forged from your friend's fear. If I gouge out your eyes with it, I wonder what kind of delicious scream you'll let out." Even in this situation, Dong Min-ho maintained his will and retorted, "A low-class demon like you. I won't scream." It heard this and attacked him while he was in its hand. "Is that so? Let's see." The wave of power from its finger stabbed straight into his eye. Lim Xian felt his body freeze. After that attack, he was unharmed and instead replied coldly, "What's this?" The eye that was attacked turned red. He smiled provocatively. "My vision has become clearer." Thinking back, it seemed Banbi had created this. "I've made a few adjustments to the blood demon stone so that the mana sealed within your vengeful soul is linked to your body. But that power won't be fully unlocked until the blood demon stone is broken." With a sharp gaze, he looked straight at it and launched an attack. "Banbi, you bastard. You hid the way to break it like this." It was extremely surprised. "Impossible. How can my screaming sword not gouge out a mortal's eye? As he moved, he said, because I'm not just a mortal. He shouted at Lim Xian as if giving an order. Hey Xian, open your mouth and scream. He was shocked and said back, won't that just make it stronger? He retorted, stop talking and scream. Lim Xian thought for a moment but made a decision, though it was unclear what he was thinking. But I guess I have to trust Minho. He took a deep breath and then screamed as loud as he could. It also seemed to be infused with more power. Such delicious screams. Dung Minho was now also unsealed. With this blood demon stone, the seal on my right leg has been broken. Seeing Lim Xian scream made it even happier. You fool, you're just increasing my power. Your arrogance will cost you. Not letting him be happy for long, Dung Minho retorted mockingly, as if he had grasped its weakness. It seems your movements slow down a bit when you eat screams, huh? Hearing this, it was surprised. What? Now it was Dung Minho's turn to attack. Well then, let's listen to your scream. Dung Minho leaped up, his eyes as sharp as 1,000 blades. The wave of power he created was terrifying, and he also began to enjoy it. I can feel it now that the shell of the blood demon stone is broken. He continued his relentless assault. If I keep absorbing the demon's evil energy, my power will return faster. And then, it was as if he was being unleashed. Just as I thought. The power increase is so much that a human's ego can't even compare. With his power partially increased, he pondered, now that the blood demon stone is unsealed, all I need to do is absorb evil energy until my true power returns. Lim Xian, beside him, could only ask worriedly, seeing that demon being absorbed by you. Are you okay? Dung Minho turned to look, extremely pleased. Of course. Let's go hunt more demons. The scene changes to Dung Minho, crossing her arms and bowing her head before Hansu. Thank you for escorting me. She looked at her and replied coldly, take off your things. And don't go anywhere until rehearsal. She replied timidly, yes. Her willpower gave her back her confidence. Clenching her fists, she said, I can do this. She saw it from the camera, her hands looking like they wanted to crush Dung Minho. Hansu, I'm so excited. She spoke as if she were going mad. If I transfer to it, will you still obey me? Han Yin replied casually. Of course, mother. Shall we proceed now? Dung Minho and Lim Xian quickly returned. Su was waiting. Suddenly, she felt a familiar surge of power approaching. She turned around in surprise. This power, could it be? Seeing him standing there unharmed, Su quickly said, congratulations on recovering your demonic power, my lord. The blood lord of all living things. She bowed, her expression extremely respectful. To accompany you anywhere, I, Su, will become my master's shadow and follow you to the ends of the earth. Dung Minho spoke indifferently. Don't be so formal. Give me the location of the next target and pinpoint Maras. He glanced down from above. So I can make a pact with them as soon as I regain my power. She raised her head, her expression extremely serious as she replied, understood, master. Somewhere, a human was enjoying a cigarette. On his back was a purple demon, its body full of holes, with a grotesque shape. This demon's name was Apian. It fed on the demonic energy from human lungs. At that moment, Apian was smiling and urging, more. Just then, a human hand suddenly appeared. Grabbed by the head, its face went blank. Dung Minho said in a deep voice, come with me. Apian glanced back, its voice stammering. What the hell are you doing? He didn't answer. His left eye glared. It only had time to let out a scream before it was absorbed. After swallowing the last piece, Dung Minho's face contorted in disgust. Damn it, it stinks. He turned and said, next. Not long after, a demon clinging to a drunkard was caught. This demon's name was Azra. It absorbed the memories of drunkards. Ugh. After absorbing it, Dung Minho said with annoyance, this one's mediocre too. Lim Xian peeked out from behind a utility pole, his body trembling, but he still asked, I didn't know. There were so many demons in the human world. But why do they have to absorb power from humans to survive? Dung Minho turned to look back, his left eye flashing with a chilling red light. Demons who escape to the human world lose their demonic power after passing through the barrier. That's why each of them has to find something to replace it to survive. Otherwise, they'll just disappear. Seeing his eye, he became even more scared. I see. So I guess demonic possession isn't just a superstition. Dong Min-ho raised his hand, blood energy enveloping his arm. His eyes were somewhat contemplative. I think I have enough mana now. Should I try it? Lim Sion's jaw dropped, his eyes wide as he exclaimed, Min-ho, what is that? He clenched his fist, the power quickly forming into a sword. The corner of his mouth curved up slightly as he explained, I've restored it, my ancient trash sword. Although this isn't its complete form. After Dong Min-ho retracted the blood energy, he suddenly asked worriedly, By the way, Min-ho, isn't it dangerous to send Suit to scout alone? He shook his head and replied, Don't worry. Her demonic power is so small that they'd have to pay very close attention to detect it. On a tree branch, Suit had transformed into a bat, hanging upside down and observing something. Not long after, she shouted loudly, I'm hungry. At this rate, I'm going to starve to death. As soon as the words left her mouth, Suit's eyes fixated on something. That is, she spread her wings and swooped down. Her small hand caught a worm. Got you. When she looked closely, Suit was startled again and cried out, Wait, what is this? She held up the grotesque worm. After examining it for a while, she concluded, It's emitting Mars' demonic energy. Thinking this, Suit immediately flew straight up into the sky. I have to report to my master right away. Meanwhile, in a parking garage somewhere, a white car moved slowly. Inside, there was a commotion. Han Yin was holding Dong Min-ha, excitedly shouting, Mom, I drugged her very cleanly. Aren't I good, Mom? In the front seat, Han Yunju turned around, a sick smile on her face. Very good. Receiving praise, he happily ordered, Han Yin, forward, forward. At this moment, Dong Min-ha was still unconscious, unaware of what was happening. Over at Dong Min-ho's place, Suit had the worm in her mouth and was mumbling. After listening for a while without understanding a word, he scolded her. Spit it out before you talk. I can't understand a thing. She transformed back into a person, spat out the worm, and said urgently, Lord Lavis, please look at this. Dong Min-ho glanced over, his facial muscles immediately tensing. What is that? It stinks. Suit held out the worm and shook it. This is definitely one of Mars' parasites. It seems Mars lost her human form when she crossed the barrier and has possessed a human form. Dong Min-ho's brow furrowed, his eyes somewhat contemplative. The reason these parasites have appeared proves that Mars needs a new body. Mars' demon soul can't endure a human body for long. Lim Sion was startled and stammered. So the last rehearsal, was it targeting Minha's body? He nodded silently. It's very likely. Mars has always been obsessed with things that are young and beautiful. At this, Dong Min-ho couldn't help but grit his teeth. Even so, she's still older than my mother. That old hag is elegantly insane. After he finished speaking, Lim Sion noticed something else. So how old is your mother? Dong Min-ho tilted his head and answered calmly. If you calculate by human years, she's about 6,375 years old. He froze, his eyes wide with bewilderment. Then how old are you? He frowned, as if trying to remember. How old am I? When I was young, my uncle let me observe the human world once. Remembering the pyramids, he continued, humans were building something. At that time, Baka laughed loudly and said, Do you see? This is a temple humans built to worship me. I am an entity that low-level gods like you can never compare to. Understand, nephew? After hearing his boasting, Lavis bared his teeth and snorted back. What's there to be proud of? Ban B, however, pushed up his glasses and calmly refuted, Lord Baka, from my understanding, the things humans are building are not to worship you. They are believers who worship the god Ra in this world. He was dumbfounded, his eyes wide as he asked, What? Why would they worship someone I defeated? He shrugged. How should I know? Hearing that, Baka wasn't flustered. He put his arms around both of them, his voice so loud it echoed across the land. Anyway, I won, so it's mine. Returning to the present, Lim Sion was thinking about Dong Min-ho's age, and his voice trembled. I heard the pyramids were built 4,000 years ago. This is far beyond what I imagined. After waiting for a moment, Suit asked anxiously, What should we do? Lord Lavis's sister might be devoured by Mars. He was silent for a long time. His face gradually turned cold. He thought to himself, Minha is about to be devoured. At a building deep in the forest. Han Yunju was helped out of the car. She looked up at the starry sky. The night I was born, there wasn't a single star in the sky. After a moment, Han Yun asked, "Is this the right place?" Han Yunju walked up the stairs, step by step, and said with difficulty, "Yes." The distance between the human world and the demon world is hidden from the world's view. As she spoke, she suddenly froze and asked in surprise, "What?" Before her, a demon was standing alone among neatly arranged corpses. As soon as he saw them, the demon bared its teeth and asked, "Who dares to come here?" Han Yunju's eyes widened. "Me? I am Mars Belius, and this is my territory." The demon was startled and asked back, "Andy Maris?" After a moment of surprise, he regained his composure when he saw her condition. "You were once one of the Black Thrones. Now you're just a fugitive who can't even use mana properly. Huh? I've already claimed this place, so get lost." Han Yun didn't even pay attention to BAW. He stepped forward and stomped on a corpse. "What is this?" BAW quickly shouted, "Hey, watch your feet." Han Yunju sighed. "All right, I'm just a nobody now. I've spent so much just to maintain this form. That's why I've prepared a few things. My children, they will protect me." BAW frowned, his voice filled with contempt. Half demon, half human children. A mother using her own children as shields. How pathetic. She wasn't ashamed. On the contrary, she proudly declared, "And what are they to you? I gave them life. It's only natural for them to fulfill their duty as children. Now, gather your smelly weeds and get out." He felt insulted, his teeth clenched. "Weeds? My sacred flowers. Why does no one recognize their value?" As BAW charged forward, Han Yun acted. He was still carrying Dung Minha, but his feet showed no mercy, kicking BAW straight in the face. "Now calm down." Han Yunju smiled and praised. "Well done, my son." A long time ago, amidst the sounds of a baby's retching, a wicked woman's voice echoed. "What a waste of soul spring water. Do you know how much trouble I went through to steal it? I said drink it." Soul spring water, a spring located in Gehenna, the deepest valley in the demon world. A place filled with the tears of the gods who created the world. This divine water is the essential core of all mana sources. The only elixir that can satisfy my greed. Han Yunju gritted her teeth, her hand squeezing the bottle of soul spring water until it deformed. Lavis Venica, hoarding soul spring water when it's not even his. That stingy bastard. I have no other choice. Even if I have to waste it, drink it all and protect me, until I find the precious gem hidden in the human world. On the path leading to that abandoned building, Lim Xian panted and asked, "Are you sure they went this way?" Suit, transformed into a cat, ran ahead, sniffing the air and replying, "Mars's scent is getting stronger." Finally, she looked up, straight at the abandoned building. "Here. She's definitely here." Lim Xian stopped, wiped his sweat, and asked, "There's an abandoned building here?" Suit quickly transformed back into a person, put a bandage on her nose, and said, "My nose has been working overtime." Seeing that she wasn't providing any more information, he turned to his side. "Minho, you have to save Minha, okay?" He was silent for a moment, then said, "All right, let's go." With his arm around him, Lim Xian jumped and cried out, "Me too? I'll just be a burden." Dung Minho gave him a sharp glare. "A burden? You make a quality meat shield." He gaped, asking in fear, "What? A meat shield?" At this, Suit also quickly said, "Lord Lavis, I pray for your victory against Maris. Good luck." Dung Minho turned his head to look back, his eyes cold. "You're going too. We need to even the numbers." She stammered in panic. "Why me too?" Knowing there was no escape, Suit trembled uncontrollably, wondering to herself, "Is fame and fortune really worth it? I really should have just stayed under Lord Banbi." Inside the building, Dung Minho was placed on a magic circle. Han Yunju said with satisfaction, "Now hurry up." BAW, who was initially arrogant, was now subdued and meek. "Lady Mars of Greed, please spare me. You'll definitely need me if you plan to live in the human world." Han Yin found it amusing and said with a smile, "Can I keep him? I have some troublesome things to do lately. We can make him do chores." BAW quickly nodded in agreement. Yes, give me any task, and I'll complete it as quickly as possible." Just then, Dung Minho's sarcastic voice echoed, It seems scum always finds its way to each other. A coward who betrayed his own clan, and a fugitive who steals out of greed, and a pair of half-breed twins. The four of you make quite the motley crew. Han Yunju turned, her eyes still wide. You are? Han Yun looked surprised and said, Minha's brother. Beside Dong Minho, Lim Xian trembled as he looked around. Are these all corpses? Are they real? He looked up at a corpse hanging on the wall. Why Yangmu? I was wondering where he was. Turns out he's here. Lim Xian, if I hadn't saved you, that would have been your end. So from now on, you'd better listen to me. Got it. His face darkened, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. He thought, this is disgusting and terrifying. This is truly the world of demons. BAW looked up in surprise. You know why Yangmu? So you're the one who ruined my plan. Hearing this, Han Yunju narrowed her eyes. I knew he wasn't an ordinary person. Han Yun smirked. See? I'm a good judge of character. Do you know who he is, Mom? Before he could finish, Suit jumped out and did something no one asked for. This is Lord Lavis Venica. He was cast down to the human world for slaughtering the entire BAW clan. The one and only crown prince of the Demon King. Han Yunju gritted her teeth, her face filled with anger. What? Lavis Venica? You're that criminal son of Ines. Lavis Venica, the bastard who killed an entire clan. As she spoke, a thought flashed through her mind. Wait, this is my chance. He's not that bloodthirsty butcher now, just a prisoner trapped in a mortal body. I can avenge my clan with my own hands. At this, Han Yunju growled again. Ines, that meddling woman. That bitch even sent her son to the human world to interfere with my life. Meanwhile, Dong Minho was also considering his options. I can't fight all three of them at once with my current strength. That BAW guy could stab me in the back at any moment. I'll deal with him later. Then he said, Hey, BAW, get lost. He gaped and then cursed. You still think you're in the demon world? I'll kill you myself right now. Before he could finish, Dong Minho shouted, Shut your damn mouth. Get lost if you don't want to die here. Under his bloodlust, BAW was speechless, sweat covering his face. Dong Minho continued, and inform the demons in the human world that I, Lavis, have descended to the human world as the Blood Lord. Tell them to stay put if they don't want to die and be hunted by me. BAW asked, startled, What? You can use mana in a human body? How is that possible? Damn it. He shot up and half ran, half crawled away. Feeling that going down the stairs was too slow, BAW directly broke a window and jumped out. At this point, Dong Minho turned and said, Hey, old hag. If you want to be younger, then experience bone-deep pain yourself. Don't go around stealing other people's bodies like that. Han Yunju asked angrily, Old hag? You foul-mouthed punk. How dare you speak to your senior in that tone? As soon as she finished, she coughed up several mouthfuls of maggots. Han Yun saw this and advised, Mom, don't push yourself. Han Yunju bit her finger. All right. I'm very curious about the child Ines cherishes like a treasure. I wonder what her expression will be when she sees her child torn to shreds by mine. Dong Minho smirked, his eyes gradually turning cold. I'm also curious. I wonder what the expression of an old woman who has spent her whole life in envy and jealousy will be if her child is killed by the child of that very woman. She raised an eyebrow and said, Hansu, Han Yin, which one of you will go first and bring that punk's tongue back to me? Han Yin summoned his weapon, replying with great confidence, Of course it's me, mother. Just wait a moment. Hansu bowed her head silently, summoning a pair of twin swords. They both charged forward. She said again, Han Yin, get lost. He loudly retorted, To shut that punk up, my Vainorin is more than enough. They both swung their weapons at the same time. Dong Minho calmly dodged to the side. Hansu continued to sweep with her twin swords. He also drew his sword to counter. At that moment, Han Yin shouted, Hansu, get lost. Hey, you're in the way. She said in a deep voice, Shut up and support me from behind. Dong Minho took a step back, thinking to himself, No teamwork. I'll exploit that. After thinking, he said, At this rate, are you sure one of you can kill me before you fall apart? Han Yin was almost hit by the sword and angrily reminded her, Be careful. You almost hit me. Dong Minho stepped back again. He calmly analyzed. They're blocking each other's attacks. Hansu is extremely confident while Han Yin is extremely cautious. The perfect pair is falling apart. He raised his sword to block a blow from Hansu. Her blade bounced back, coincidentally hitting Han Yin's flail. He gritted his teeth and said, "Again." Hansu also frowned. She clicked her tongue in annoyance. Taking that opportunity, Dong Min-ho swung his sword in an arc. The blade slashed across her waist, leaving a gash that sprayed blood. He thought again. Even if they're half-breeds, they're still strong. What the hell did Mars do to them? Seeing his sister get hit, Han Yin suddenly laughed. "Serves you right, Hansu. This guy is mine." The chain flail shot out, hitting Dong Min-ho's right hand. Hansu took the opportunity to charge forward again. "I'll be the one to take his head." He switched the sword to his left hand, his eyes calmly staring at her. Seeing this, Hansu couldn't help but be surprised. He dodged at that exact moment. At this time, Han Yin also chased after him with his chain flail. "Lavis, be careful not to die. You have to die by my hand." After saying that, he swung the flail up forcefully. At the same time, Hansu slashed down with her twin swords. Dong Min-ho hurriedly used his sword to block the attack. The weight forced him to his knees. Hansu gritted her teeth and said, "Die." Dong Min-ho quickly knocked her away, his mind already calculating. "I don't have enough mana to take on both of them. This plan is a bit cowardly, but I'll try provoking them." Then he said, "Hey, your sister is pretty strong, huh?" Han Yin glared and cried out, "What? Who's the sister? I was born 18 minutes before her. I'll kill you." Dong Min-ho saw him charge, and his face went blank. It actually worked? He immediately backed away, easily dodging the attack. Hansu saw Han Yin's action and scolded him angrily. "You idiot! What were you thinking, charging him like that?" He angrily retorted, "Shut up. I'll be the one to offer this guy's corpse to Mom first." Dong Min-ho's eyes narrowed with calculation. He's attacking more recklessly now. That also means he's within my attack range. Not far away, Suit fought and said, "Mars of the 12 Black Thrones was someone I once respected. To think that you've become so strange and unable to control your own greed. It's disappointing." Han Yunju asked loudly, "How dare you call me strange, you lowly beast?" As soon as the words were out, Suit was hit by one of her tentacles. She thought to herself, "Right now, Sion." Lim Sion took the opportunity to rush towards the magic circle. Just as he touched the protective barrier of the circle, he let out a cry. He thought to himself, "So hot. No, wait, it's cold." As he thought, Lim Sion pushed with all his might, clenching his jaw. He shouted loudly, "Minha, open your eyes." At that time, Suit was also fighting desperately. She thought to herself, "I'll hold her off for a while. Sion, hurry and save Minha." But the one she had hopes for was knocked back by the magic circle's barrier. Lim Sion held up his hands, which were burned red as blood. The pain still spread to his nerves, making him think with self-doubt. "I'm just a human. I can't do anything." Remembering the happy image of the three of them, Lim Sion was suddenly filled with the power of friendship. He gritted his teeth and thought, "Even so, I won't give up." With that thought, Lim Sion raised his hands again. He punched straight ahead while shouting, "Minha, no matter what, we'll save you." His fist hit the protective barrier. At the same time, Suit was sent flying. Han Yunju said, "It's time to end this game, isn't it?" Suit gritted her teeth and stood up. Even with this battered body, she's still so strong. "I guess the 12 Black Thrones isn't just a title." Han Yunju shot out purple arrows. "What were you thinking? That just because of this decrepit body, I'd be easy to defeat?" Suit was hit and flew backward, pinned to the wall by an arrow. She opened her mouth and screamed, "It hurts." Han Yunju said again, "Look closely. Witness the end for these insects." Seeing her walk towards the magic circle, Suit panicked and cried out, "No. Sion, run." Hearing her voice, he looked up. Then fresh blood spurted out. Lim Sion writhed in pain on the cold floor. The witch Han Yunju stared at him, a grotesque smile on her face, and taunted, "I'll use you as nourishment along with that little brat. So just wait there." He struggled to move while panicking inwardly. "My body. I can't move." At this moment, she began to cast a spell on Dong Minha's body while excitedly saying, "I've wasted too much time on these brats." Then, she roared with satisfaction, "I swear upon the blade that can split souls." "Oh, moon of the oath, I will abandon this rotten flesh. Let the fire of greed burn my bloodline and open a new path. Tear open the gates of the heart and start this life anew." Just then, her eyes suddenly lit up with a bewitching light as she shouted, "Oh, darkness, hear me. My oath is complete." At that moment, Dong Min-ho began to notice, his voice worried. No, a blood-red blade appeared from nowhere. At the same time, his eyes also became unusually cold. Then, the hand holding his sword swung forcefully at the group opposite him. Just one blade had cost them so much energy. At this moment, Han Yin shouted to stop him. "Stop right there." But the stubborn Hansu shouted, "No way. I have to be the first." Suddenly, his body was tightly bound by a magic rope. Done. He was pulled tight by an invisible force. His mouth was also sealed shut by large pieces of tape. His body was dragged forcefully into an unnoticed corner of the room. There, Jin Jahi was silently imprisoning him, whispering provocatively, "How dare you bully our beloved Lavis Appa like this?" A large amount of slime suddenly gushed out from nowhere. It poured out of Mars's mouth and straight into Dong Min-ha's. Her body received all the slime that she poured out. Then she hiccuped, causing the liquid to suddenly surge up. Then it slowly flowed down her body in a way that was anything but normal. Suddenly, she woke up, healthy and strong, and said slyly, "Finally, I have a perfect vessel." At the same time, her body collapsed onto the floor. She raised her arms, admiring them and saying, "This fresh body, this feeling." Then, she felt her body and said perversely, "This is it. I will enjoy this beauty forever." Seeing this, Lim Xian shouted, "No." Suit also shouted in despair, "Miss Minha." Dong Min-ho, who was fighting, was also distracted, causing Hansu to remind him, "Where are you looking?" He said in frustration, "Damn it, I'm too late." At that moment, Jin Jahi looked at him with an obsessed, ambiguous expression. "Lavis Appa, those beautiful lips. Even Appa's new look is so charming." Then, he used his own arm to block the knife strike. She hid behind the wall, trying to wake herself up. "Get a grip, Valtia. Appa is in danger right now." Suddenly, she became shy and worried. "But, if I make a move, Lavis Appa will easily see me." She screamed in embarrassment. Just imagining it is so embarrassing. Even so, I can't just stand here admiring Appa forever. What should I do? Han Yin, lying there, was surprised. Seizing the opportunity, he tried to crawl away. Just then, Hansu also noticed him. Worried? "Hansu, who did this to you?" At that moment, he quickly devised a plan. "This is my chance." Then, he struck Hansu without hesitation, making her scream, "Mom, that bastard Hansu." At this moment, Dong Min-ha began to pay attention to them. Strange slime suddenly appeared on her body. Han Yunju, hiding in that body, spoke up. "Hansu, what are you doing down there?" Her arms silently freed him. Immediately after, he shouted in frustration, "Where's that brat? Where did she suddenly come from?" She replied slyly, "It seems we have a little mouse." Then, she proudly boasted, "Mom, are you done? How do I look? Am I pretty?" He commented, "Mom, you don't look like yourself at all." Seeing this, Lim Xian said in a disappointed, low voice, "So she really did take over Minha's body. Is this really the end?" Suit, who was imprisoned, quickly replied, "Lord Lavis, there's still a chance. Miss Minha's soul hasn't completely disappeared yet." Hearing this, he was alarmed. "What?" She struggled to continue. "Tonight is a moonless night. On the night the moon hides, the boundary between the human world and the demon world becomes blurred. Magic, pacts, even souls become most unstable." The sky darkened as she spoke. "This night isn't over. The ritual of Mars is not yet considered complete." Her body still lay motionless there as she shouted. Miss Minha's soul is definitely still there. Suddenly, Minha's eyes became alarmed. She struggled and cried for help. "Minho Appa, my body is moving on its own. Please save me." Hearing this, he was distracted and confused. "Is that Minha's soul?" Suddenly, she began to laugh grotesquely. Mars appeared, arrogantly provoking. "How interesting. What do you think? My voice sounds just like the real Minha, doesn't it?" Hearing this, he shouted in frustration, "Are you mocking me?" She arrogantly ordered, "Han Yin, Hansu, I'm tired. Now just kill them all." Hearing the command, He charged forward frantically while excitedly shouting, "Yes. Now we'll really finish them off. Mom, hurry up and find that little mouse from before and kill her too." He also became frustrated and swung his knife wildly. To think I can't even handle these low-class half-breed descendants and have to suffer such humiliation. In another corner, she said with satisfaction, "You've waited long enough, haven't you? It's time for me to eat my fill and increase my power." Seeing this, Suit was filled with injustice and tears. She said slyly, provoking, "Well then, who should I enjoy first?" Lim Sion's eyes also flashed with a rare fear. Suddenly, a strange ball fell right at her feet, making her say in surprise, "What is this?" She stared at the ball. Suddenly, a mini doll jumped out. It directed its sharp gaze at her body. This made her jump in fear. Seeing this, he also said in amazement, "That's..." As hazy, murky smoke enveloped the room, Mars covered her nose and grumbled, "What is this? What's this foul smell?" Suddenly, a figure shot out from nowhere. It was Jean Jahi. She rushed to Suit and pulled out 2 iron bars. Then, she attached 2 large mechanical hands to her arms, making her exclaim in surprise, "That's..." She quickly finished while she was still confused. Then she spun away, coldly ordering, "Use this." She asked hesitantly, You're Jean Jahi?" At this moment, Lim Sion was being held captive by the stream of slime. She came over, pulled him up, and whispered, "Human, use this to help him." He was also so surprised that he stammered, "You are." Then she disappeared, leaving the gun floating in midair. Suit examined the 2 hands, constantly exclaiming, "This is a weapon reinforced with demonic power, isn't it? How did Jean Jahi get something like this?" He was just as surprised. "What is this? Why did Jean Jahi give me this?" His hand kept exploring the gun she had just given him. Suddenly, he screamed as a pink smoke enveloped the room. His head couldn't control itself, causing him to shout in pain. "My head is so strange. My heart is pounding." Suddenly, his pupils contracted, his mind still in a mess. "My head is spinning, and I can't seem to breathe anymore." Meanwhile, she, who was surrounded by the poisonous gas, shouted defiantly, "Where did you get that piece of junk? You think I don't know what you're up to?" Suit charged out from nowhere, swinging her sharp hands at her. But she quickly counterattacked, shouting in frustration, "Sneaking a little toy in there? Do you really think that will change anything?" She fought back fiercely. "A toy? We'll see about that." She roared fiercely. "The outcome is already clear. You're just a lowly, discarded beast." She retorted aggressively. Compared to someone who has discarded themselves just for their bottomless greed, that means nothing. Suddenly, a foot stepped forward from nowhere. She began to act sly and grotesque, saying, "So it's not just a trivial toy, is it?" Then, she held out that grotesque arm and shouted, "Whatever. I'll devour you all the same." She looked at those tentacles and worried. "The tentacles are getting thicker. I can't cut them." At this moment, she also began to seize the opportunity, devising a clever plan. Mars is starting to adapt to her new body. The more time we waste, the more disadvantageous the situation becomes. She became more and more grotesque, arrogantly threatening. I wonder if the taste of a fresh, struggling demon beast from the demon world is delicious. Hearing that, she became more and more anxious. A cord connecting from her stomach caught her attention. It was the umbilical cord connecting to Han Yunju. As she was about to be cornered by her, she came to a conclusion. That's it. Minha is just a normal human. Her main body is lying there exposed, which made her realize she can't absorb all of Mars's power at once. Meanwhile, she was relentlessly attacking her. But she had already deduced, we have to cut the umbilical cord connected to Han Yunju's body. Somehow, I have to break that magic circle. In a corner, Lim Sion had also calmed down, calmly realizing, my breathing is stabilizing. He held the gun and pondered, What am I supposed to do with this now? Suddenly, he noticed Mars's body, which was protected by the magic circle. He quickly glanced over at her. Watching her fight, he wondered, the tentacles are connected to Han Yunju's body, right? He came to a realization, thinking, in that case, the transfer process to Minha isn't over yet. That magic circle made him realize, the magic circle is there to protect the original body until the transfer process is fully complete. Thanks to that, he became even more determined. There's still time. If I can destroy that magic circle. His eyes suddenly lit up strangely. He was rooted to the spot when he discovered. What? I can see the structure of the magic circle. In the end, it's just geometry. He raised his hand in the air, touching something to calculate. Geometry is made of shapes, and shapes can be turned into formulas. A magic circle is nothing more than a structure calculated by numbers. His hand moved as he came to a conclusion. This circle is maintaining the connection between Han Yunju's body and Minha's. I need to solve the formulas and find the weak point. His hand quickly wrote out strange mathematical formulas. He frantically calculated, using his brain's full capacity to analyze. Analyzing the magic barrier. The core is a cubic polynomial, with the flow of mana following an S-curve. The nucleus of the ceiling spell lies in the extreme values. So then, the derivative. Seeing this, Suit, who was struggling to fight, was amazed. This is a magic formula? Is Sion really deciphering the magic circle right now? She thought while resisting the power of the hands. Thanks to the weapon Jinjahi gave him, Sion can interpret magic? Meanwhile, she was still lost in pleasure, constantly screaming, "Come on, you little mouse." She began to regain her will to live. Anyway, while Sion is deciphering the magic circle, I have to try to stall for as much time as possible. At this moment, his hand was still tirelessly solving difficult equations, gradually reaching the end. Converting the magic circle structure into matrix form. The main diagonal, the mana vector, is a symmetric matrix. Then, he smiled with satisfaction. If I find the eigenvalue, there will be only one weak point. Then his eyes lit up with interest. Found it. F, x, equals 0. Its weak point is exposed. Finally, he boldly raised his gun and said, "Magic circle, your extreme minimum value is." Next, the bullet flew from the barrel as he cheered. "Your destruction." Immediately after, he was so happy he jumped for joy. The immense power of the bullet slowly pierced the magic barrier. What? It slowly crept deeper inside, then slowly touched her body. At this moment, she finally realized what was happening and shouted, "What?" Lim Sion and the gun were sent flying far away. She shouted in despair, "How? How could you break my magic circle?" But he didn't care, as he was still lost in joy. "I calculated it. The formula was proven." He thought about the gun and concluded, "According to my calculations." Then, he fell asleep in thought. The magic circle has collapsed. On the contrary, she was screaming frantically. How could these weaklings? My physical body hasn't been fully transferred yet. Meanwhile, a scream came from somewhere. "Nice one, Sion. Leave the rest to me." It was Suit's voice. She charged straight at the body as she screamed, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" She didn't care and stomped straight on her umbilical cord. She frantically tore at the cord. She was still standing there, shouting angrily, "How dare you try to snatch me away?" She had to endure her powerful attack. Her body was sent flying far away. She angrily walked towards the original body, saying in despair, "I can't let everything collapse at this moment." She fumbled with her body and said in pain, "My body, my noble body. I can't lose even a small piece of flesh." Though pushed away, she struggled to retort. Greed grows like a tree, but eventually it will break under its own weight. And when something breaks like that, impurities will inevitably cling to it, layer by layer. Hearing that, she became even more furious, threatening loudly. "What the hell are you talking about, you lowly beast? I'll chew you until only your bones are left." She lectured in exhaustion. "Anyway, both this thing and your greed will burn together. Isn't that right?" At this moment, Dong Min-ho began to appear in a monstrous form as she called out, "Lord Lavis." Han Yen, despite his body being torn apart, still kept apologizing. "Mom, I'm sorry. That thing." He absorbed the red smoke and suddenly became stronger. But Dong Min-ha, seeing the scene, widened her eyes in shock and thought, "Impossible. The smoke just now was the catalyst?" Meanwhile, on the other side, Jinjahi was slowly watching with obsessed eyes. The scene shifts to an earlier event, as a woman held a huge syringe in her hand, following her thoughts. "That one who was once sealed in the demon world. Good thing I managed to get blood from Lavis's body. I was going to keep it forever, but I have no other choice. Lavis, Bambi said this. A special serum has been implanted into your new body. If it absorbs blood from the original body, you will be able to regain a part of your true power. So, Lavis, please accept my gift. And once again, cause a stir, just like the old days. Before him now, Dong Minho was staring with dark, wide eyes as he said, "It's been a long time since I've felt this refreshed." But Dong Minha suddenly became agitated and roared in anger. "You useless things! You can't even handle a simple task like this." But he showed no mercy and suddenly pulled Han Yan's shirt hard. Then he pulled hard on the collar around Hansu's neck, making her cry out. The two of them gritted their teeth from the pain. Suddenly, they both performed a spin at the same time and quickly escaped from Dong Minho's grasp. As soon as he was free, he went crazy and charged at him like a madman. "Thanks, Mom. Now I'm really going to kill him." She didn't hesitate and also charged at him from the other side while roaring, "Die! Go die!" But Dong Minho easily blocked both attacks with his bare hands. But Dong Minha, who was possessed, became angry and flew straight at him, not forgetting to sneer, "Lavis Venica, that bastard who calls himself the prince of the demon world. Why are you risking your life for these pathetic humans? She's not even your real sister." But Dong Minho didn't rush to answer and instead muttered, "That's sweet cake." Then his eyes widened as he growled, "It was absolutely delicious." Those words simultaneously made her eyes widen in shock. What? On the contrary, he kept mentioning the story from the past. "The cake that this body's little sister gave me to eat. It tasted like nothing of this world. It had the taste of the heavens." This made him from the other side feel annoyed, and he interjected with a sneer. "What the hell are you talking about? You're a demon. Why are you talking about the heavens?" But Dong Minho remained firm in those words and even asked, "Have you two ever fed each other cake?" Hansu nearby also cut in with a rude tone. "Are you crazy? If we did, it would only be to throw it in each other's faces." His hands were still nimbly attacking, while his voice was indifferent in reply. "Is that so?" In just a short moment, she had a deep gash cut across her neck. The wound was not easy and was deep enough to spray a stream of blood. Those drops of blood stained Dong Minho's face and even his mouth, but he didn't hesitate to use his tongue to clean it. But as soon as he tasted it, his eyes suddenly widened. Dong Minho's mind once again drifted back into the past, but it was Hansu's when she was still innocent. "Mom, I got a perfect score." At that time, the tiny Han Yin also said cheerfully, "Mom, I cleaned the whole house. I'm so hungry." But Han Yunju at that time snapped, "Shut up. If you're hungry, go drink water." Immediately, she left the house and slammed the door, not forgetting to curse, "Useless things." Those words unintentionally hurt the two children. Instantly, they both lost motivation and threw away what they had just done. Studying, cleaning. They thought sadly, "Nothing I do makes Mom praise me." The scene changes to a coffee shop. Han Yunju looked at the bustling surroundings and constantly complained, "If it weren't for you kids, men would be flocking to me like rain. Look at that fake smile. It's so nauseating. Han Yin, I really don't like that girl. You understand, right?" Hansu beside her also glanced in the direction she was looking, unconsciously becoming strangely silent. Without hesitation, she stood up and slowly moved. Her steps suddenly became hurried. Immediately, she charged straight at the other girl. This made the girl furious and she exclaimed, "Damn it! What was that?" But Han Yunju had to rush over and say, "Are you okay?" She still couldn't stop scolding. "Damn it! This is so annoying. What about my clothes?" Meanwhile, she pulled her away while apologizing. "I'm so sorry. I'll buy you a new outfit to change into." Then they left the room as Han Yunju said, "Come on, kids." She put her arm around both children and continued, "What should we do?" And then a satisfied smile appeared on her lips. Immediately, she hugged Hansu beside her and exclaimed, "Our Han Yin is so kind, isn't he? So adorable. Did you see her face? Pretending to be all virtuous and stuff. Serves her right." This made her stiffen and she thought with joy, "Finally, Mom praised me." But Han Yin, realizing this, became competitive and said loudly, "Mom, let me do it next time. I can do it too." Han Yunju heard this and didn't stop him, but added, "You can try next time." But Hansu stared at her satisfied expression and thought, "If I torture the person Mom is jealous of, Mom will praise me." And that thought continued until she was older, as Hansu stood before the collapsed body of a woman. If I beat the person Mom hates. Han Yunju stood beside her, smiling brightly, which made her think, Mom will praise me. Instantly, she uttered words of praise. Oh, why is Han Yun so good at that? Do you really do everything Mom tells you to? Even as the sword dripped with blood, Hansu replied, yes. Standing before the corpse, she gently explained, everything Mom ordered. This made her extremely pleased, and she turned to cup her face. So cute. So you can kill again next time, right, my dear Han Yin? She replied gently, yes, I will. If I kill the person Mom orders. Hansu rested her head in her lap, her mind affirming. She will love me. A smile appeared on her lips. A truly happy smile. Returning to the present, Dong Min-ho, after reading those memories, commented, you really raised these kids well. But Hansu was now completely crazed and was determined to kill him. Die? Die as I say. Die. Even Han Yin from the other side wanted it and roared, I'll kill him. I'll kill him first. Dong Min-ha nearby saw this and roared in encouragement. That's right. Kill him. Kill him quickly. Get that bastard out of my sight right now. Seeing this, Dong Min-ho swung his sword while thinking, really, the true nature of demons. How despicable. Despite being 1 against 2, he easily restrained them both. Then Dong Min-ho's eyes suddenly widened savagely. I acknowledge you as a demon, worthy and qualified to die by my hand. Realizing his expression, she was shocked and thought, his eyes have changed. Her teeth instinctively clenched as she thought further, just like. Suddenly, the image of his uncle appeared next to him, making Dong Min-ha exclaim in shock, the beast of the battlefield from that day. On the other side, Han Yin had been seriously injured and was screaming miserably, damn it, my arm. But Hansa beside him didn't care and even sneered, you idiot. You should have been more careful. Suddenly, Dong Min-ho rushed over and pointed out, you're worried because he's your brother, right? While she was annoyed, he from behind roared and blamed her. It's all your fault, Hansu. You trash. You should have done your job properly. But she, who was fighting him, heard this and glared, turning to him. What did you just say? You. Han Yin became even more crazed and exclaimed, kill him. Kill this bastard right now. If not, I'll kill you first. This made Hansu freeze in disbelief. You really? But Dong Min-ho took advantage of their argument to swing his sword and jump up. That's right. Keep fighting, you idiots. She now realized and her eyes widened in surprise. But without any wasted movements, she quickly grabbed him. At the same time, he had swung his sword. But Han Yin was pushed in front of the blade by Hansu to take the full force of the attack. Immediately, he had to kneel and let out a blood-curdling roar. The pain shot through his body, making Han Yin unable to stand, and he screamed, it hurts so much. The sensation made his body go numb, and he had to tilt his head back and shout, Mom. But Dong Min-ha, seeing his pathetic state, shouted curses. Useless to the very end. Hansu, leave that kid and come fight. She was now closing in on Dong Min-ho. Hearing her, she obeyed. Yes. But Han Yin had now collapsed to the ground, still crying out in resentment. No, don't leave me. He used his last breath to plead, Mom, Mom. But she didn't care about him and was only focused on destroying Dong Min-ho. Die? Stop your useless resistance. But his agile body quickly dodged all her attacks. At the same time, his brain was still working. I've dealt with one of them. But, looking at the motionless corpse, he continued to calculate. Mars's body has almost completed the possession. If I waste any more time, Minha won't be able to come back. I don't know how long this body can hold out. Suddenly, Dong Min-ho grabbed the sword, firm in his thought. But I have to try. Immediately, he took the sword from Hansu's hand. His other hand quickly grabbed her waist, and the other hand had thrown away the sword and moved to her head. Without hesitation, Dong Min-ho bent down and bit Hansu's neck hard. Despite her pained screams, he was only focused on the blood. This sight made Dong Min-ha, who was possessed, widen her eyes in horror. No, what the hell is this? But after she was released, she couldn't stand straight. Then she lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground. But Dong Min-ho, after drinking the blood, seemed to have his power upgraded. I will push the blood to the absolute limit this body can handle and increase my power immediately. Instantly, he rushed towards her, swinging his arm in that direction at the same time. But Minha still used her tentacles to fiercely resist. "Don't come near me, you bastard." But he didn't stop and got closer and closer. Realizing the ineffectiveness of her attack made her even more panicked. "Why won't you die, Venica?" On the other hand, contrary to her efforts, Minha was actually gritting his teeth. "It feels like my whole body is disintegrating. This vessel can't take it." His arm was veiny as he continued with that thought. "It feels like being torn to shreds until death." Immediately, Minha weaved through the tentacles and rushed close to her. "How I've missed it." But Minha, seeing his skill, widened her eyes. But he was now right next to her after a while of weaving. Realizing she couldn't escape made her scream, "No, you bastard. Are you going to ruin everything at the last minute?" But Minha said nothing and just swung his arm. He quickly slammed Minha's body to the ground, making her scream. His hands squeezed her neck tightly, despite her fierce screams. "Let me go? How dare a creature like you?" But he didn't let go and just slowly affirmed, "It's over. Your filthy life is finally over." Minha continued to struggle, her tone disbelieving. "I can't die. I can't die by the hands of someone like you." But Minha showed no mercy and grabbed the staff next to him. "This is my final warning. If you voluntarily leave Minha's body right now, I will spare your life." Hearing that opportunity made her exclaim in shock. "What? You'll spare me?" His aura was now no different from his father's as he continued. "That's right. I, Venica. I swear on the honor of my father, the great demon king." But suddenly, another thought entered Minha's mind. "I see. This guy is afraid that I'll self-destruct if I don't leave this body. It's a pity to lose this vessel, but what's important is to survive and find another." Then she laughed with a crazed delight and began to speak. "Certainly. The lineage of the great demon king would not lie when using their family's honor. Lower your sword. If you do that, I will do as you wish. Right now, I really have no other choice." Seeing that desperation made Minha freeze. The magic staff in his hand unconsciously disappeared in a puff of smoke. He slowly got off her and stood up straight. Then he said, "Waiting, now get out of there." Minha, after being released, still had an uncomfortable feeling in her neck and grimaced before replying, "All right." Suddenly, a bewitching smile appeared on her lips. Instantly, the monster's soul shot out. "I'm coming out, you fool." But Minha saw this and smirked with interest. Immediately after, he swung his demonic hand, using it to grab its soul tightly. Only then did it realize and begin to struggle violently. "What? This is not a human arm." But he still kept the smile on his face and began to clarify everything. "As one of the 12 Black Thrones, you sure are quick to believe others' words, aren't you? To be honest, I don't even know how to get you out of Minha's body." This made it widen its eyes in terror. "What? You bastard. So it was all just a lie? Even when you swore on your family's honor and your father?" Suddenly, Minha held the monster high in his hand while revealing his cunning. "You know, I only care about preserving my own honor." The purple-eyed, green-skinned monster writhed in angry pain. "No, my body. That's my body. I don't want to go. Let me go." Minha sneered in contempt. What a pathetic sight. The monster escaped from her body. As soon as it was out, it was caught by him and screamed, Wait, please, save me. I'll do anything you command." The monster writhed and screamed, "Please." But then, from behind, Hansa stood up, staggering and holding her sword. "That's right. Well done, Han Yen. Hurry up and kill this bastard." Before she could attack, Han Yen had already stabbed through her. "How cunning. You want to take all the credit for yourself again." A bloody scene. "I won't let that happen." And then both of them fell to the cold ground. Seeing this, he went mad. "You bastard. You threw away my last chance just like that." Minha looked at him coldly and said, "They called you mother with all that desperation, only to die so ridiculously." He seemed to be even more shameless and said things without shame. "Please, I beg you. I won't touch this girl and we'll move to another body, okay? Your mother and I were once as close as sisters." His face was indifferent, his eyes emotionless as he looked at him. He quickly explained, "Don't believe me? It's the truth. Ask Ines. She called me big sister and always treated me well. Hearing this, Suit couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up. Your children just died, yet in the end, you only think of yourself. Are you really a mother? He screamed frantically, begging. I can give birth to things like that again. Lavis, listen to me. Unable to listen anymore, Minha slashed his neck. Your reputation as a former member of the 12 Black Thrones is worthless, isn't it? He groaned in pain. Lavis Vinica. Who would have thought you would humiliate me to this extent? From the vaccine, he was now extremely furious and hateful. And to die by the hands of Ines's child, as expected of Ines. Crying out in anger, I don't accept this. I will kill you. He stomped his foot to finish him off, and he slowly disintegrated. The blood magic flowed back into his eye. It's over. At the end of the battle, Suit approached him and said, I knew it. You did it, Master Lavis. He looked at his hand, which was invaded by the blood magic, and thought, she was a former member of the 12 Black Thrones, after all. Her power is truly overflowing. He froze. But, taking a cloth from his shirt, he covered his nose. There's a mediocre and filthy stench. What a waste of time. Suit asked about the two who had died. Master Lavis, those twins. If Mars hadn't invaded the human world. She continued, her tone as if mourning their fate. Would they have been able to live happily with their real mother? Minha thought for a moment and said, we'll never know. Looking at Minha, his unconscious sister before him, he continued, even if their parents weren't demons. Then he thought of Tae-sik, the man unworthy of being a father, and continued, children can still die because of their parents' greed. From behind the door, a figure with a face like Jean Jahi's was looking at him with admiration. It's over. Now I have to get out of here. But she had been discovered. He called out, over there. She was startled. Seeing her frantically run away, he said, I've already seen you, so you can come out now. She felt extremely embarrassed. No, please pretend you didn't see me. Then he ignored her and said lazily, Valtia. Hearing that name, Suit jumped. Valtia, the famous weaponsmith, from a traditional family of the demon world. In her surprise, she continued, the youngest child of the Murtano family, who received all the love and affection, is Valtia? The genius smith said to appear only once every 3,000 years. With a pensive look, he asked her, why did you follow me all the way here? She jumped and stammered an explanation. Follow you? Bambi told me to. He said I was a gift for you, big brother. The surprise is over, so I'll be going now. After saying that, she tucked her tail and ran. Suit stared at her, not understanding. Of all the noble ladies, she's the most reckless and arrogant. And she's also known for always clinging to Master Lavis. But I'm sure that was Jean Jahi's face, wasn't it? Minha gritted his teeth in anger. Why did he do that? Bambi must have put Valsha's soul into Jean Jahi's body. His eyes were sharp, and he was furious. This makes things more complicated. Minha crossed his arms in anger and blamed him. Bambi, you bastard. If I return to hell, Bambi will be your subordinate. You can do whatever you want with him. What? Suit also showed great interest. Huh? Until when? He declared angrily, indefinitely. In the kingdom where Bambi was enjoying his afternoon tea, on the other side were Ines and Baka, chatting animatedly. Baka said, are you surprised? Thinking about that blood-sucking, as expected of my nephew. Ines replied indifferently, how cruel. She continued to ask, so what did Lavis do after that? He spoke with an admiring tone about him. Rumor has it that with that blood-sucking power, he cut off her tentacles and then crushed her head. Baka boasted with a teasing tone, oh my, it was so cruel I dare not say more. Poor my sister. Seriously, he told Ines, if you're going to like something, like it properly. Don't just mumble. She also agreed. That's right. I like it. Anyway, don't use Lavis anymore. Her eyes were sharp as she glanced at Baka, her voice slightly annoyed. You handled her skillfully, that's enough. I haven't had a single day of peace knowing my son is in the human world. Baka changed the subject, pointing at the teacup in her hand and asking, the tea you're drinking is a precious specialty from the George family, isn't it? You've been drinking it all this time. Knowing he was deliberately changing the subject, she retorted, that and this have nothing to do with each other. Knowing he couldn't escape, He replied casually to comfort her. Just kidding. Now that Lavis can use his true power, you don't need to worry anymore. Just relax and enjoy your tea. But she already knew everything. You two are colluding, aren't you? She glanced at him and asked, what are you two planning? Hearing that, his expression was also surprised. The great demon king doesn't know either? She replied, could it be that you didn't know Banby put a blood demon stone inside Lavis's body? She froze in horror as if she had just discovered something terrible. Don't tell me that. She stood up aggressively. You're planning to use Lavis to catch Morgus? He raised his hands with a delighted tone. Exactly. Ines truly exploded when she heard the news about her son, angrily grabbing Baka's neck and shouting, I'll kill you right now. Scared, he quickly explained, no, Lavis wants to catch him too. How could I let my nephew's wish go unfulfilled? The two of them argued back and forth. She bit his head. You idiot. You should have died 1,000 years ago. He begged before her. It hurts. It hurts. It seemed this scene was all too familiar to Banby. He just sat there and thought, these two siblings, didn't they always want to kill each other in their past lives? But then he put down his teacup and thought seriously again. Morgus, the ruler of death, the god who returns all existence to nothingness. When the wind of death blows, the heavens, hell, and the human world will wither one by one. He propped his chin on his hand, his eyes considering carefully. A cruel creature that wants to devour humanity and re-establish the order of hell. Wherever you are, just wait a moment. Lavis is on his way. On this side, Dong Minho was also taking care of his sister who had just been brought back to her room. He looked down and thought, Dong Minho, the debt paid with your own body is now settled. The mother rushed in. Why is she passed out here when she should be practicing? Behind her were Yu Tae-sik and a few others. She asked worriedly, Minho, what's going on? Knowing how to evade, he replied, it seems she got hurt in the practice room. Yu Tae-sik went mad and cursed him. You damn bastard. What did you do? She's a future idol. Dong Minho, was it you? Are you two plotting with her to harm me? His venomous words made her angry too, and she shouted back, how can you say that? Both of you were against Minha becoming an idol. He seemed to have lost all reason and only thought of himself, cursing her back. Every time Minha appears online, the comments are all praising me. Are you trying to tarnish my image? Then he aggressively turned to the subordinate behind him and ordered, all right, Kim, take out your phone and film Minha. I'll say this happened because she was harassed. With greedy eyes, he laughed like a wild beast. That will attract more attention and sympathy. Isn't my idea brilliant? Hearing this, Dong Minho seemed to have reached his limit. He looked on coldly. This thing really doesn't know its place. Glancing at Yu Tae-sik, his voice was as cold as ice. Before he could finish, she cried out, unable to take it anymore. Enough. Do you even see this child with your own eyes? He gritted his teeth. What? Then she turned and poured out her heart before his astonished eyes. At first, I thought you would be a good father. But as soon as my father passed away, you took all his money and prepared to run for office using my family's connections. She cried in pain. You even used Minha. I can't take it anymore. He brushed off her words and replied arrogantly. I was the one who accepted a poor woman who ran away from home and her 2 children. Don't you remember your father thanking me and asking me to take care of you? Then he roared and turned back to blame and curse her. After devouring your ex-husband, now you're trying to kick me out too? You ungrateful woman. Looking at this despicable man, he was furious. Every word you utter stinks to high heaven. A creature like you even deserves to be called human? His eyes stared straight at him, as if he was about to reach the peak of his limit. I can't stand this loss any longer. Although it's a pity I can't kill you in the human world, breaking a bone or 2. She couldn't hold back anymore and aggressively shouted, Shut up, you trash. He was surprised, but also seething with rage. What? What did you just say to me? You dare to shut me up? Looking at Yu Tae-sik with hateful eyes. I held back so as not to hurt the children any further. I tried to prevent them from losing a father for the 2nd time. You're a hypocrite. It was all for your image, wasn't it? Don't make me laugh, you. Green veins began to pop on his face. Are you crazy? She put her hands on her chest, her hatred turning into strength as she declared, Listen here. I'm no longer here to be your lackey. Her determined eyes made him furious. From now on, I will be the hand that strangles you. At this, he also reconsidered. I used to think she was just a weak human. The scene reminded him of Ines. But this moment reminds me of my mother. Yu Tae-sik also went into a rage. What? What do you think you are to dare? In a grand setting, a facility in the Middle East, a large, dark-skinned man was begging, "What are you doing? Please stop. Don't press the launch button." The man in the black cloak seemed indifferent. Why isn't it working? The dark-skinned man continuously warned and pleaded. If you launch it, thousands of innocent civilians will die. He didn't hear a single word and just calmly pressed the button, his voice cold. Isn't that your intention? The system lit up, and the room immediately turned red. Warning, missile launch sequence activated. The dark-skinned man shouted in helpless anguish. Oh no. Why did you do that? What's your real identity? He replied, I am a demon. The dark-skinned man asked again, what did you just say? He turned back, his face emotionless to the point of being chilling, which would scare anyone. Go to the launch area and tell them that this was done by Morgus.